Welcome to Saber Talk Live Special Edition, where we are going to give you guys Saber help if you need it. You could ask Jedi Hesh, you could ask me, you could ask Gabe. Gabe, you said you're gonna have some more Baby Yoda friends arriving at your doorstep.
Yep, this little guy just came in today.
Oh, that's brand new. So,
Yeah.
what's the material on that? Like, is it soft or is it?
Yeah, I mean,
like
it's just
plastic?
like this is just like a bean bag, basically.
Oh, okay.
Just bean bag, pretty heavy. It's like a bean bag. This one's from Mattel.
Does he have legs?
No, no legs, no
No
legs.
legs?
I like
No.
that though. I like how it just like can plop down. It can like hold down papers or
Yeah,
something.
Like a
yeah.
paperweight. But the
Yeah.
head is like a rubbery plastic, or is it like a hard plastic?
It's a soft
Oh, it's
plastic.
soft.
Soft?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's rubbery, but not so soft. You know, it's still kind of firm in there. But
How do your eyes
Yeah.
look in person?
oh my god, the eyes are creepy. They're so realistic in person.
Are they real looking?
The-
Yeah, they
the-
do
Are
look
they
real.
like clear over top?
Yeah, the pictures don't do it justice. You got to see this thing in person.
Nice. Nice.
And then see, there you go. And so
Love it.
this is the first one. This is from Mattel. We got one coming from Hasbro, that's animatronic. Actually we got two from Hasbro animatronic ones coming in the mail. This one just arrived today. Then we have the Hot Toys articulated one coming. We pre-ordered already. And the Sideshow statue that we pre-ordered also.
Nice.
That one's gonna be awesome. The Sideshow one's like the most realistic looking one, but my wife's
They're all
obsessed
like
with it.
that size, like the big size, or some of them are toys that are like littler toys.
I think these are littler. The Sideshow one is supposed to be a 1-to-1 scale, so I think it's a little bigger. But I got to check it out when it arrives. And the Hot Toys one is supposed to be kind of a bigger size.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. So anyway, Saber.
Welcome to
Yeah, I was
Saber
about to say, Saberifications
Systems are go.
systems are go.
I thought that this was gonna be like timed out when I hit the button. You know what this one says? Like, Gabe, I think this font is from you, or it's one of the default ones in the CF10. It was it's like a Ray font, and it says some funny lines. Like, does she really say those lines in episode 9? Because like I missed all the first hour, episode 9. Does she say that line that she says? What did she say in this boot sound? She's like, I like it. I don't like it when it's easy.
Oh yeah. It's
Does she say
difficult
that
when
in the
it's
movie?
easy or something like that. I get
Yeah.
I get nervous when it's easy. That's what she
Is
says.
that a real line?
That line, I gotta be honest with you. That line I do not recall. That particular line, I do not recall.
'Cause there's like a couple things that she says
Most
in
of the other
these
lines,
boots.
yeah, they're all.
Like in these boot sounds. There's a
Yeah.
couple different weird ones. Melissa's World, welcome.
I think. Hey, Melissa's World. I have. I think I have four fonts that are Ray related. So I have a bunch of phrases in.
Yeah,
each
I know
one.
you
I'd
like
to go
recently
through.
got a bunch, but this one was probably from when you left here like a month ago or something.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Devin Allen could use some help. I got a question about my Makoto. What's your question about your Makoto? Welcome to Saber Talk Live Help. Makoto could be tricky because sometimes if it's blade related, you may not be able to fix it. But there's a lot of fixes that you could do yourself in a Makoto. Like if there's a speaker issue, maybe you could replace the battery. If there's something going on with the batteries, maybe not as strong as it used to be or lasting as long. Melissa's World says, I'm waiting on the installation of the soundboard. It's going to be a summer Saber now. Who's installing that soundboard? You're doing that yourself, or you got that out? I wanted to pull up this page that I have about batteries to show you guys the batteries that Gabe was asking earlier, and I know Gabe asked about a month ago which batteries to order, so that he could.
Yeah,
get
it's funny
some
you bring that up
replacements.
because I actually meant to order that today. I was talking about it earlier. I need to order
Oh,
that
the
battery.
thing off the Battery Junction website. This is a site that I've used a couple times. I'm pretty happy with some of the choices. Like, well, they have a lot of choices. So, some of the choices for batteries are really good ones. Like, for instance, these Nightcore 3.7s. Now, if you're talking about getting a battery for like type of saber that you have, Gabe, which is the Genesis Custom Sabers by Mad Cow, you will want the protected 18650, right? But if you are looking for a battery for, like, let's say a Makoto, you will be looking for the unprotected batteries. Okay, so Devin says, I have a blade where the top of the blade doesn't light up. I'm unsure if it was a battery problem or if it was damaged. Yeah, so if it's a top of the blade, what's probably happening is your top segment, there's 6 segments, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the top down. So the top segment's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down to the base of the hilt. Your segment number 1 sounds like it is no longer connected properly. What's like most likely is that a connection came apart in the in one of 2 places. So in the blade, if you have a removable blade, there's like 6 pins or 7 pins. There's a common positive, or not a common positive. The way Makoto blades work is different. So there'd be like a common negative and 6 positives. One of those positives to the segment number 1 sounds like it could be disconnected there, either at the plug area if the blade is removable, or at the part in the actual blade where there is a wire that runs up and down the blade. That is the I believe in the way in Makoto's is it's a common negative string. That wire may not be connected properly at the top, or the positive, which would be the segment number 1 positive wire, may be disconnected. One way, if you want to get like brave, and open it up, what you might want to do is like see if you could disassemble the blade to the point where you see the foam. Slide the foam off of the blade assembly, and if you still are able to activate your lightsaber that way, where like the foam is off the blade and you could still have the blade plugged in though, and kind of like turn it on, use your fingers, like press around where that segment is off, right? Press around where it's off, and sometimes if you see it come on, you know that your fingers press the connection back into place, so you can sometimes figure out like where that went wrong there, right? So if the disconnection happened up there by segment number 1, and you're feeling around and you press, and the saber's active, and now you see that segment come on, but it's finicky, it goes off when you take your hand away, you may need to resolder one of the connections up there. Now if that doesn't do it, you want to check down where the blade connects to the hilt, whether that be a little 7-pin plug or just wires. Sometimes they're not removable, and see if there's something going wrong where blade segment number 1 connects to the electronics. If the blade connects directly to the board, you could have like maybe one of the wires is loose there. Jake Carrot, welcome. Space Window, has anyone made a lightsaber blade with transparent aluminum? Well, Jedi Arms Dealer, I don't know if you watched a couple episodes back where Jedi Arms Dealer had created some lightsabers that are clear, but they're made out of acrylic. So I never heard of clear aluminum. Is clear aluminum a thing? Or I thought that was something that was like in the Star Wars universe, transparent steel.
Star Trek had something called transparent aluminum. Star Trek. I don't know if you heard that.
Let's see here. Oh,
Star Trek. They talked about transparent aluminum in one of the movies.
Oh, optically transparent. Okay, there's something called aluminum oxynitride, which is a ceramic composed of aluminum, oxygen, and nitrogen, and is marked under the same Cermat Corporation as it's optically transparent at 80%. No, I never heard of anyone making a lightsaber out of that. But if you check out Jedi Arms Dealer's YouTube page, you'll see that he's done a lot of lightsabers that are clear. He's done the Glass Flex, which we talked about when he was a guest on here. It's an awesome looking Graflex lightsaber, but totally acrylic, so it's clear. And he's got like a rotating crystal chamber in there, and all the things you could imagine that would be in a lightsaber. He's got all these gizmos. Then he's also got the Illumos, which is a crystal-based lightsaber that's like a huge crystal. Oh, let me get Harris back in here. I don't know. Somehow there he is. Harris is back. There is, and he's got another one too. What was the other? He's got another clear one, I think, that he did. But yeah. Oh, Melissa's World. She said, I'm getting your Pixel Blade. Thank you. Or no, she says, I'm getting a Neo Pixel Blade from someone else. Sorry for the confusion. No worries.
Oh, that means she needs to get one from Civilized Sabers.
Oh, her screen reader is now malfunctioning. That's not good. Oh yeah. Jay Carrot says, no, it's real. Yeah, I just looked that up. That's crazy stuff. I'm sure, you know what, if anyone's going to do that, if anyone's going to make a clear lightsaber out of that, it might be Jedi Arms Dealer, because he's so used to making clear sabers. Steve is in the house. What's going on, Steve? ST Productions. Harris, what are you doing with that blue crystal?
Just playing, showing it off, seeing what it looks like on camera. Looks good. I like it.
Devin says, I'll check that out. I also need to get a new battery charger for the Makoto. I'm sure where to get one. Also, I bought an empty Saberforge hilt. You still take installation jobs. Yeah, you could send me an email. We could talk about that Saberforge. For the Makoto charger, what you can do is, if you still have, if you've lost your battery charger, what you'll probably want to do is look for something that's a 3.6 charger, 3.7 lithium ion charger. Pretty sure he uses all lithium ion batteries in his lightsabers, and just one with the similar connector. Sometimes the Makotos do have a special connector. If you still have your old battery charger, you could just like match up the stats on the back of it to another charger. Like for instance, the Custom Saber Shop 3.7 lithium ion charger will work as long as your connection system is the same. Meaning, like when I used to have the couple of Makotos, it wasn't like a 2.1 millimeter recharge port. He had something else. So what you could do, if you still have that old charger that maybe no longer works, just solder on the connector to one of the newer chargers from the Custom Saber Shop that is a 3.7 lithium ion charger. Melissa says, anyone else having internet lag? I am having to rely on my data a lot. I guess it depends what company you have, like in the like what service provider you have, because in this quarantine stuff, like everyone's online, I guess, and some, especially Friday nights, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like was never perfect for me before. I have Optimum. Lately it's been pretty good, so I should knock on some wood over here, but it's been not too bad lately. But I know that they can get bogged down.
Yeah, I gotta get that battery because I want to be able to get a little bit more time out of my Saber. But then when I went on the website, although I know you sent me the link to the one particular battery, when I went on the site, I'm not gonna lie, I got overwhelmed with all the options because I start seeing the numbers I need at higher numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, do the higher numbers mean more lifetime, more battery life?
Yeah, so like I had told you to go on batteryjunction.com and check out the Night Core.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is I think it was the first one, although I thought the Night Core that I passed to you was $18.95. This one's $17.95 is the first one listed here, but
yeah.
Basically, any of these Night Cores were like made for the flashlights, and since our Sabers are, overgrown flashlights, these are like really good batteries to be using because they deal with the high current draw of those big flashlights, like a police flashlight.
Yeah.
So these are good ones to get. So like this first one here, 18650, 3400 mAh, 3.7 protected. That's what you'd be looking for. It's the first one in the list. If you click on 3.6 to 3.7 batteries, and then you'll get a whole list of like the different size batteries. And most of the common batteries like today are these 18650 style. So
Yeah.
you'll see a lot of these like 18650 Ultra Fire. These are just different companies, right?
Yeah.
And some of them are protected. That's what you're looking for. For someone that has the Makoto, you're looking for one that's not protected. But for the most part, you're looking for protected, and let's see what else. You're looking for like the highest MAH that you could find.
Yeah.
There's ones
It'll
like
fit.
Yeah, that'll fit. So when you look at ones like this X-Star here, that is 14500. This is the type of size that is like a AA.
Yeah.
So this is that's why you see that it says 800 mAh. It's a smaller physically. It's smaller physically, so it has like less juice in there.
Yeah.
There's if you could choose between any of these, like for you, Gabe, you have to put an 18650 in your hilt. But if you could choose between any of these, you want like the biggest number you can.
MAH.
Well, also that, but
the biggest 18650 with the highest MAH rate.
That's
Yeah.
what
That'll give you the
Gabe
I've
would
seen
be
some
looking
at
for.
2400, 30 something hundred, and it goes up from
Yeah.
there. That's where
Yeah.
where it can get overwhelming for someone that's not too familiar with this stuff.
Right. So like I would stick with for our lightsabers, I would stick with the like certain brands. Like you could try, I know Harris is using in his lightsaber right now the Night Core brand, and he's been really happy. I was pretty happy and surprised when I tested it too.
Yeah.
I've actually charged this maybe 3 times since we built it, and
That's amazing.
And-
2 months ago. It's runs. I get so much run time out of it.
And you've
Of
got a
course, when I'm-
NeoPixel.
and it's a NeoPixel. And when I, like the big thing for me is the kill key. Like I always make sure my kill key's in there when I'm not messing with it. I get huge runtime, and I've never had it really die on me yet. I don't think so. I'm looking for my kill key now. I don't see
Right,
it.
because
But
you
yeah,
also
sure.
have since you have your blade in, it helps to keep that kill key in so that there's no trickle draw at all when you have your blade
Yes.
in, because that'll
That's
happen.
correct.
But
No
if
draw,
you're
and-
building
I have LEDs too, so
See,
I'll show you.
that are just
see if I
kind of
can
like
show you here.
accent, yeah.
I'm using
so-
I'm using these. I have the TCSS ones, the 18650, but 3120 MAH. 3120.
3120 is pretty good.
But they only
How
give
long are
me
you getting out of it?
they only give me like, I don't know, somewhere between 20 to 40 minutes tops use, depending on how hard I'm hitting it.
That's not bad with a NeoPixel,
Yeah, so I'm trying to see if I can get something with give me a little bit more life, more time.
That's constant use, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So like a lot of guys I know will go to a con, and they'll carry 4 or 5 extra batteries with them, keep the batteries charged, and the 5 or 6 batteries, whatever they carry for the day, will get them through the day at the convention.
yeah.
Yeah,
These
So,
aren't.
here-
Another thing is my Saber doesn't have in-hilt recharge. I'm removing everything, taking the battery out, popping
Yeah.
it on the charger. So
yeah,
it's a pain in the butt. I want to be able to turn this into a in-hilt recharge.
Well, you know what? Let me ask you this too, Gabe. What kind of charger are you using with it? is your charger a decent charger? Because I find that when you're talking chargers, you get what you pay for. If you pay for a little cheaper or low end, you wind up getting, maybe less time out of the battery.
I'm using this one. Trustfire.
It's Trustfire. Yeah, I think it's right here. Oh, I'll show you. Hang on.
If there's something better than that, it'd be good. But
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna order that Nightcore you guys have.
Same one I
like,
use.
As far as a charger goes, there's some chargers made now that charge these higher amp batteries faster. Like Gabe,
What's
you know
your setting at? Make sure your setting is correct on the side.
Oh,
Well, these are 3.7. These are 3.7 volt batteries, so I have it set to the 3.0.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Because the only
what
other
I would
option
do.
is the 4.2, and that's too much.
No, well, the
And that's
4.2
correct.
the 4.2 is what you want to have it set to, because it's actually going to charge. It's going to charge up to about 4 or something anyway. I think. If I'm not mistaken.
Try that set switch, Gabe. See what you get out of that.
But it's just that those are the 500 milliamp chargers where you really want to see if you could get the 1 amp charger. So the 1 amp charger will charge the battery faster. So when you're going to be waiting a lot less time in between those charge up periods, and also for a Saber like Gabe has, where you could just replace the batteries. You kind of will never be without. If you have a few batteries in rotation, you won't be without a full charge.
Yeah. I usually just put the battery on the table, and then he comes along and just uses the force. Just charges my battery.
That'll be like the latest force power that they'll introduce.
Palpatine electricity, man.
Oh yeah, that could do it.
Yeah.
We could try not to blow up lithium-ion batteries that way.
Yeah.
Steve from ST Productions says, my Saber issue is I need to find a way to make or have someone make a removable chassis with a crystal chamber that I can pop into any MHS hilt I make, instead of wiring up a new one every time.
It's a great idea. I just saw somebody was working on something like that. I saw on one of the Facebook pages. I don't remember which one.
He says
About a
Jedi
week
Arms
ago, I
Dealer is book solid for 2020.
Nice.
One thing that you could do is, like, if you're set on, I know you had asked for Jedi Arms Dealer's info, and you were interested in his chassis. I don't know if he allows this, but you could ask him to let's say be the first customer for 2021. You know how fast time goes by, and with this whole thing this year, it's like this year is gonna pass by. It's gonna be December before we know it, and then it'll be 2021. So I don't know. Like, if you really like his work, I think waiting for it isn't the worst thing that can happen. And then in the meantime, you could kind of, maybe build your own crystal chamber to use in a Saber while you're waiting, or just keep an eye out. Maybe there's going to be someone online, something on Etsy. I know when Jedi Arms Dealer does have stuff available pre-made, he lists it on Etsy. So I know that maybe there's other makers and stuff too. Or you could always check the forum. If you guys are not a member of like all the different forums that there are for your custom lightsabers, and you're looking for parts and stuff like Steve is, you can do yourself a favor by just signing up for all these free forums and just keeping a lookout in the sale section for when people are selling things. You could join FX Sabers forum. You could join the Saber, the Rebel Armory, and you could also join the Royal Prop Forum, and especially if you're interested in the blasters and costuming and different Saber related stuff. Also, the Custom Saber Shop also has its own forum, and that's a great resource for building your lightsaber as well.
Yes, sir.
Devin says he's got one question before he sits back and enjoy this video. Will this video be a permanent upload so I can come back for the info you gave? Yes. So after we're done here, it'll just be posted to my Space Windu channel, and you can come back and look at it anytime. If you have trouble looking for it, just look under the Saber Talk playlist. It'll be under the Saber Talk playlist.
They're all there from what was it, 5 years ago we started, guys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. You
Yeah,
guys first
good
came
stuff.
over and did a Saber Talk live and in person. No, it wasn't live, but it was it was live and in person for us. Probably about 5 years
If
ago.
we keep going, it'll last longer than my marriage.
If you can put it in your lightsaber, something bigger than an 18650 would be better. Something like a 21 series, which is a newer size battery. You guys should check out JB Kuma's channel. He's at the Mad Science Workshop, and he's going to be doing some battery tests for us all regarding what's the best lightsaber battery for your saber, and he's going to give you guys the lowdown on the different sizes as well and what the capacities are. For the 21 series, it's a battery that was like newly came out, I think in like 2018. It's a new size, and it's got more juice in it than a 18650, less than a 26 series. So it's something in between like an 18650 and a 26. So if you have the girth, it's a bit girthier than an 18650, but they're about the same length. So if you have that girth in your build that you're coming up with, try a 21700. If you are wanting something even bigger and better than that, you can try the 26650 series, which, let me see if they have an example of it. Me and Harris have been using these in the Sabers for quite some time. Here's a night. Oh my God, why is this only 1350? Oh my, this is a 40 amp. Oh, wow. Oh, it's a lithium manganese. Oh, okay. It's not a lithium ion, but this is the size battery. This is that same brand that I was telling Gabe to buy, but in a different size. This is the 26650 size, high drain, rechargeable. So something in that size is like really, if you could have anything you wanted. I actually put 2 of these in my friend's Paul Saber, he was gonna use it to direct traffic, so he needed it to last hours and hours and hours. And it's NeoPixel, so the only way to do that was to give him like beefy battery, and what I did was I just doubled them up, so he has like 2 26650s in his hilt.
Wow.
But yeah, this is the Battery Junction website that I'm on. There's lots of different battery websites. You could choose your favorite one and just kind of look through, and once I'm kind of telling you guys what to look for. Maybe you could select a battery in a brand that you trust. I know some of the brands at the Custom Saber Shop is Sony and Panasonic, which are great brands. Those are good batteries to use. I've used them in my lightsabers a lot as well. You just want to make sure that what you get is protected. For most applications, you want to get protected. So see, you'll see batteries like this Ace Beam that it says unprotected. That's not what you want, because it's not going to apply any protection for your circuit board. If something went wrong, this battery is going to kind of put the brakes on things, whereas an unprotected battery won't.
Yeah, I definitely want to look into that. I'll see if I order one tonight, that Nightcore one, because I need to have more time with this. I turn it on a lot. I'm messing with this thing all day long, literally. And
Need more go-go juice.
Yeah, I think after 20 minutes or so, it's already starting to go dim. I'm so used to the knowing, by the blade, the brightness of the blade, I can see starting to, that aura starts to slowly, and then I get like 30, 40 minutes and boom, it's time to change the battery out.
Gabe, there was a weird thing going on with this Saber. This is, I think you guys, I know Harris worked on this. I think you played with this a little, Gabe, maybe. I
get nervous when it's easy.
That one. The weird thing about this one, when it went low battery, and it made me so nervous, like she said, because it was low battery and I didn't realize that I was doing the first test. Now, a lot of the times, like Harris will probably know this, when you finish your lightsaber, even though you may have charged up your battery, like while you're building your lightsaber to the fullest amount, and then you complete your build, and then you start your first tests with the saber, you realize that something along the lines of connecting the whole thing along the board makes it so that you need to charge it again. Like I don't know why. Harris, like what? I think me and you talked about this before.
I've said it before. I think as this stuff comes together, like it's just starts to gel, and the wire and the electricity. I feel like as it goes through the circuitry on the board and through the wires, it all just starts to blend a little bit, and it starts to come together. And after the second or third charge is where you really start to see what the Saber can do,
You kind of treat it like it's an automobile, right? Like don't go above 15 miles per hour for the first, for the first 30 days.
You got to break it in a little bit. You know what I mean? Call me crazy, but that's what I feel when I I've built a lot of Sabers and I get the same thing. For me, it's like after I build it, one of the pleasures of building it is playing with it and testing it. And I just
call it
feel
testing,
that,
but it's really playing.
Yeah, you're playing with it, and the more you play with it, the more a guy that has a car will notice as time goes on the crooks and the creaks and the little bangs that it'll do, but the car starts to gel together, I believe. You know what I mean? Everything starts to get lubricated, even though there's no lubrication in an electronic piece. Is that weird? I guess. I don't know.
You got more like a little bit of a hippie attitude about it.
Yeah, I'm an old hippie.
Well, it's more like a real lightsaber, right? Because it's like the Jedi had to make it like happen and put it together with the Force.
Sure, they said Luke actually meditated for a month over his crystal, the green crystal.
And
so,
that was synthetic. I wonder what would happen if it was organic. How long would you have to meditate over it if it was organic?
Yeah, maybe longer. Yeah, man. But when it for me, like I don't like to send the Saber out to a person until everything works and gels perfectly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like through the testing of this one here, I kind of found that it was like half of the blade looked dimmer than the other half, similarly to when like you build the NeoPixel blade that like it's part like it's not ready yet, like where the half is not lit up inside. That's what was almost starting to happen. So I took out the blade that was in it, thinking that like something was wrong with the blade and I was going to maybe have to repair the brand new blade I just made. And I put in another blade and it was doing the same thing. And then I realized, oh, it's the battery. The battery was dying. And so even though I was only seeing it kind of in one half, that was odd to only see it. And in both blades that I tried, I only saw the dimness like in one half. Gabe, did you ever see that? Like when your lightsaber's dying, like you said, you could tell in the blade. Can you tell that it's like unevenly? Like one side of the blade was less than the other?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because like I never saw that before, and I saw it in this one when it was dying, and I was like, "What's going on? Is it breaking? Oh no!" And then I charged it up. I waited like the hours it took to charge it. Tried the same blades again. Everything was perfect. So I was like, "Oh, it's the charge." A lot of times it's the charge, right? When you have the sound issue, like you were having a sound issue one time, and you charged it up, and then it was fine, right? So it's like. With the NeoPixel, there's such a draw, and that's one of the things that people have to watch out for when they are wanting to deal with these TriStar, right? When they want to order the TriStar NeoPixel blade from Civilized Sabers or make themselves a triple strip lightsaber blade in NeoPixel, it's a big draw on the battery. And Gabe, I know you were asking before, like what type of battery should someone get if they were going to plan on using the TriStar, and it'd probably be one of those 26 650s would be the best thing to do. But the reason why, like one of the reasons why we don't offer it in something longer than I think 32 inches is because you're just going to place out almost any battery. If you're talking about like, let's say a 36 inch long TriStar, I mean, what battery is going to be able to handle that? I don't think it is for long, right? Yeah, maybe in a single color, like if you just had green or blue, maybe. But then when I was testing them on the mixed colors, you could tell that it's a strain on the on the 18650. Although surprisingly, not as much as I thought. Like I thought it was going to kill my tester, and it was only hurting the tester when the tester was like low on batteries. Was it going like the bat? Like I could hear it out of the speaker. It was like starting to pull. So I thought to myself, okay, it's actually working for a lot of these mixture colors, which is surprising because there's over like 900 diodes in some of those blades when we're talking about 300 LEDs, and each LED has RGB, 3 diodes.
150 per strip.
Yeah.
2 strips, 150 per strip.
Well, yeah, and when we're talking about 3 strips in some of those, right? Crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you do the tri-pixel blade.
Yeah, the
Yep.
TriStar one that we do now.
Yep.
Steve says, if you guys had to pick a favorite saber from any of the films, games, books, etc., what would it be and why? I've said my answer before, so I'll just go first. Mine is the Qui-Gon lightsaber, because Qui-Gon's, to me, his hilt looks like a laser gun. Like it looks like part of a laser gun. Back when we were kids and you had the laser tag, or we had those like different laser gun toy options. I really think that Qui-Gon to me looks like it's an 80s design with those scalloped hand grips and the vents.
I prefer the trilogy sabers, the pre-trilogy sabers, but my favorite has to be the Graflex because it's the original. But now also, I'm the guy that was a big like NASCAR fan. And then I started seeing Dale Earnhardt pictures on every pickup truck in my neighborhood. And I live kind of out of the city. I live in the outskirts, so I kind of lost interest, So the Graflex was special to me, but I don't know. It's lost some of its edge now. Everybody's got a Graflex,
Well, you do put Graflex influences in like every hilt that you design and make.
Yeah,
so that's where Graflex
right?
got you.
For me, yeah, definitely. There's
like you always
every
have
piece
that
I've
curve
done.
I
like that curve,
emitter,
the shroud.
Different Graflex aspects.
I like the bunny ears, even though they're non-functional. I like them.
Yeah. You always
I
seem
like
to
the
have some
bunny
kind
ears.
of control box, usually.
Yeah.
Except for on this latest one that you did.
It's got the little tiny box on it with the LED and the kill key on it. But and the buttons are kind of hidden on this latest one. They're kind of underneath the shroud. Really got to get your finger in there to get to them. But yeah, I do tend to put a Graflex influence. I like that slanted, like emitter kind of shroud with some kind of internal piece, coming in the middle. I like it,
Yeah,
but
I agree.
The Graflex, it's just the first,
I agree. I'm down with the flex. I'm recently obsessing over and I want to do something similar to mine. I'm recently obsessing over the scrap flexes that are coming out.
Oh yeah.
Some of these scrap flexes are just plain old badass, man.
Yeah, they're cool stuff.
They're pretty cool. And now I feel like I want to do a similar shroud with bunny ears on mine.
Yeah.
Just to give it that
to
scrap
that piece,
flex.
to that piece.
Yeah, to
you
this.
Want to do it on that.
Yeah, do it on here, a small Graflex style, shroud with the bunny ears and the button on there, just to give it that Scrapflex feel, because I'm obsessing over that. I don't unfortunately own any Graflex sabers whatsoever. That's on my to-do list, That's on my top of my to-do list.
Yeah, the prices have dropped a little bit. I've seen them go like for a real Graflex from the 40s. I've seen just the hilt part go for $800. I saw somebody selling one a few weeks ago for it was $400, $450. So they're dropping in price. I don't know why. Maybe it's because after the movie and the movies are all over.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not Ray's saber anymore. It's not anybody's saber anymore.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they're dropping in price. Yeah, but it's a rare treasure to find a nice Graflex.
Yeah, I totally want to get one. I don't think I'd want it for use. I think I want it just as a shelf queen, just to say that I have one.
Yeah, I feel you. Like for me, like I know Ant, you and I were talking last week about the Black Mamba saber. Like I almost feel that saber is so special. If you put a board in it, it's great. But once that board is no longer available, or you go to the next, from the 9 to the 10 or whatever, you lose because now you got a choice. You can rip it apart and put a new board in it and keep it modern with the times, or like an iPhone, it's obsolete after 2-3 years,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
So
consider
that,
those old boards like obsolete though. I'm still using the Prism in my main Saber.
But none of it has that smooth swing, which
No.
to me is the greatest invention.
I know,
That
right?
is really cool.
That to me, that just makes the
It is
Saber
so
real.
sweet
I
to have
mean, it's
smooth
amazing.
swing, unbelievable.
It's amazing when it's in your hands what it can do.
It's funny you bring that up because I think it was just yesterday I was thinking about smooth swing and how it's changed sabers as we know it, the functionality of it, and I thought to myself, I can't go back ever again to the old school stuff.
It doesn't.
Pre-recorded
It feels like
stuff. It's gonna feel like a
it
little
feels
toy
like
from Toys R
real
Us
to a
or
toy.
something.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I said,
agree.
you know what? I don't
Yeah.
think I could ever go back to that pre-recorded stuff because it's just gonna feel like I have a fake toy,
Yeah.
something like you give a kid or something like that. With all due respect to everyone who still appreciates that, of course. I mean, we all came from that, so I could appreciate that. But it's just that, smooth swing just takes it to a whole nother level, man, of experience.
Well, let me ask you this, Gabe. You've seen the Black Mamba, yeah?
Yes.
Have you seen the Black Mamba Saber?
Yes.
Right. So I saw one go recently for $8,000. How many of them are there, Ant? 7, 8?
7
In the world. Okay, that's how rare this piece is.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I mean, look, to me, there's only one of these. There ain't another one in the world like this.
Yeah.
It's mine.
That's what makes the whole experience of building your own.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now you put a CFX in, and a year from now the CFX becomes the CF11. And
no, well, with all
feel,
these like open source things, like can't they just? I mean, if they have access to that little port, they could probably update it.
Yeah, but what happens if Smooth Swing version 2 comes out? I mean, is it possible? Can it get any better?
Are you just talking about like the difficulty of opening up a Black Mamba? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I mean, I'm talking in general. Like a Black Mamba, it's an $8,000 piece. I just saw it go for.
Yeah.
So, like, you build it. Like, do you take something like that? Do you build it? Do you put a board in it? Or do you leave it in a box and keep it forever? And maybe it goes up in value. I don't know what you do with it. I mean, I've been playing with lightsabers for 20 years. I can show you a piece on my shelf that I cut a piece of pipe to what I've done today. It's night and day. But, I mean, I don't know. It's $8,000, man. That's $8,000. Not everybody has $8,000 to blow on a saber, So do you build it up or do you let it sit in a box? If you build it and you're using a board today, in 2 years' time, is that board obsolete? I mean, history shows us, because we started with the CF, with Crystal Focus and the Nano Biscuits, I mean, that's what I started with. What was the other one? The Nano Biscuits, Crystal Focus, the Prism. What was before the Prism? I can't even think of it. It's been so long, I can't even think of them. I broke. How many boards did I give you? I broke, and I gave you a handful of boards to ship back.
I sent them to Michael.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's helping us out by repairing those. There was a CF10 in there. That'd be nice to get repaired.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying, though. I mean, and I guess that would be on the person spending the money. Me personally, that would be a shelf queen. That would be an $8,000 shelf queen.
That would be behind
let
glass.
me change it. Let me throw this at you
case.
guys.
I have $1,000 sabers behind glass.
Let me throw this at you guys. You ready? A Yoda's Graflex. Now you know what that Yoda Graflex looked like. It's beautiful, right? It is a work of art, man. It's amazing. Am I right?
Yep.
Okay. What board do you have in yours?
Well, I have a Prism, but Yoda's sending me a CF10 to replace it with.
So you're going to put that CF10 in that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How much tearing down do you have to do that? And to be honest with you, you and I do this pretty much. I mean, for a while there, we were doing it a couple days a week. It was like a job for us, right? So You know, can your average Joe take an $8,000 saber? You've seen what did Yoda's sabers go for? 15 grand, right? If I'm not mistaken, I've seen them go for.
Yeah, 12 to 15 grand on an auction. At auction.
So yeah, so not everybody has the ability, and not everybody works on sabers on a continual basis to have the ability to rip a Yoda Graflex down and replace it.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You know,
I think it would have to be. I think it'd have to be to spend that kind of money. It has to be a collector, and just to be a shelf queen, because I can't see myself rocking a $8,000 saber on my belt. You know.
Let me throw it this way to you, Gabe. Okay, you're a car guy. You own a Lamborghini, right? Yeah. And it's a 2007. A Lamborghini goes for $250,000. I mean, 300 grand, right? So, you know, you decide that somewhere down the line, that Lamborghini, maybe that 12-cylinder ain't fast enough for you. You want to put a bigger one in. You know what I mean? You want to put a bigger motor. So, you know, you're taking that work of art, really, and modifying it, you know?
Yeah, taking it apart in order to upgrade that.
Yeah. So would you consider a saber on that same type of a plane?
I guess it depends on I guess it all depends on what the use of it is going to be. If it's a Jay Leno person that he has those kind of cars, but he keeps them in a garage because they're just for show. Every once in a blue moon, he'll take a 1952 Chevy out or something, you know what I mean? But it stays in the shop. But if you're talking about, you know, using that's a whole different ballgame. I just don't see that happening for an $8,000 saber.
It's a lot of money, right? It's a lot of money. And your average guy doesn't have that kind of money to spend 8 grand, 15 grand, 10 grand on a saber.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the lines are blurring as far as like what can cost a whole hell of a lot and what's kind of affordable. Have you guys seen this new Vader Generation 2 by Vader's Vault?
Beautiful.
Isn't that nice? And I think that's
I wet
like
my pants when I saw it.
Yeah,
I wet my pants. I wish I could own one. I can't afford it.
I saw
but
that.
Still, this isn't an $8,000. This isn't one of those $8,000 things, though. This is I think this is like 700 or something around there. This is really fantastic because it's got like a really detailed metal chassis.
Beautiful.
CF10 and NeoPixel. I'm not sure how much it ends up being, and since it's probably limited, like, you know, you probably have to like log in at a certain time to try to win one of these. But it is a really cool option. I know that they make these in like a Graflex style too, where they give you
they're all metal chassis. Is beautiful.
Right. Really cool.
Alan did great work on that.
Yeah, kudos to Vader's Vault for that work, man. That's some really nice detailed stuff.
Beautiful.
Maybe I don't know the price of that one, but this is like the Ben Solo lightsaber. This one is $750. I guess that's before you start choosing your options and stuff. But this is something really cool. I like the Ben Solo lightsaber. I really thought that was.
I do too. I actually
highlight
like that too.
Of the Last Jedi, right? This was really.
I'm not that into the whole Kylo Ren. I don't like the Quylons. I think it cheapens it up a little bit.
Yeah, well, this is kind of like the Kylo, but without the Quylons, right?
It doesn't have the Quylons. Yeah, it's the Ben Solo. You know, when him and Luke got into it. You know, and then when he became Kylo Ren, I guess supposedly he added the Quylons to the side later on.
I love that strange thing that they do on some of these emitters. Let me see if I could get to it again. I had a picture of it a minute ago where they have that heat. Oh, there it is. The heat look. To the,
you can see. Looks like an exhaust pipe on a Harley.
That's
where the chrome starts to blue up, and you get those blues and purples and oranges in a mix. It's beautiful, amazing work.
That's very cool.
Amazing work, amazing.
Oh, they have a blasters section. What's under blasters? Oh yeah, the Ray style blaster. I think this is sweet too. I like the way this looks.
I want to get into maybe doing blasters with you, man. We could do a nice run of DL44s. You know, I had some experience with that too, and we could do something nice with some DL44s. Yeah.
This looks really cool. I wonder if this comes with holster bundle. The holster is $100. That's really cool though. That looks great with the holster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really nice piece.
Yeah, and the holster I'm sure is genuine leather, like a real holster, like a cop would carry a holster. You know, it's a nice piece. Vader's Vault gives you quality for their buck, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It
They
is
do nice
pricey.
stuff.
It is pricey, but for whoever could afford it, it's worth every cent, man, because they do some amazing work.
Rich Sangillo
Yeah.
says Panasonic batteries are bad for the Verso. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. You know, I know some of these batteries though. Like we're talking a lot about batteries earlier. Like one thing I didn't mention isn't. You know, I'm going to tell you guys. Oh, I'm going to start my sentence with "Be careful," but I don't know how you be careful. But I'm just going to tell you, you got to be careful because a lot of these battery companies are like rewrapped, crappier batteries, if you know what I mean. So.
I want to show you guys something here if I can. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we've
Sometimes
talked
they're
about this
a
before.
bad brand of battery that's rewrapped.
I'm a vapor, okay, and a vape has a mod. Basically, what this is the vape juice right here. This is where the juice goes in the tank, and basically this is just a battery pack, and it just happens to hold two 18650s, which I bought. I mean, for this kind of thing, I bought low-end cheap batteries, and I actually rewrapped them myself. You can buy these wraps for like $1 a piece.
I remember
got
you showed me
Superman.
that. That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just to talk about what you can do with that, here's a Batman. And, I mean, to be honest with you, here's a nice set. I think these are Panasonic originally, but they're just rewrapped. I don't remember how to open this. Hang on. I'll show you these. So yeah, I mean these cost me $20 at a vape shop. The vape shop probably paid $10 for them, and it's just the same kind of silver Panasonic battery on the inside. It's just wrapped in a fancy pink purple wrapper, and they sell it for $20. But you want to be careful. Certain batteries are better for certain things. You know, I wouldn't put these batteries. I have 20 of these batteries around here. I wouldn't put these in a lightsaber. You know, these are strictly for these.
There's actually different classes. Those are probably IMR batteries.
They are IMR.
I've only used that in a Saber once. I'm not sure what the.
I don't know if you can see.
What the,
I don't know if you can see this.
I've.
You see, it says IMR on it.
Yeah, I think the ones that you really want for your Saber are ICR, which are better because they blow up less. Apparently, there's like a rating for how much they're gonna blow up. Let's say like how volatile.
Yeah. I've actually done a Google search on vape mods exploding. Look that up. You know, vape mods exploding. This one's kind of cool. It's got a drop clip. It's set up like a gun handle. You put the batteries in here, and then you take this and you
drop the weapon. Drop the
right.
weapon.
I end up getting shot with this thing. Yeah.
Gabe's around the corner.
But yeah, I mean, you want to be careful. You know, talking lightsabers, you don't want to put any battery in any lightsaber. You want to make sure it's good stuff.
And if you're building your own, you definitely want to make sure it's like the best type of battery that you could afford.
Absolutely.
Especially because you know what's kind of funny is like the difference between some of the best and some of the worst is just a couple dollars anyway. So
not
like,
even.
You know, if you're
like
going to get
it's
like
that label.
Trying to save money and get like the $8 or the $7.50 battery, there's actually 18650s you can get as low as $4 if you buy them in packs, and they're kind of like no-name brands, maybe even $3 and maybe even less. But the ones that I'm talking about to get for your lightsaber usually cost between like $11 and $20. Those are the range. That's kind of the range that you don't have to be too concerned if you're trying to buy one for $5. Maybe, you know, try to sniff out whether it's a real Sony or whether it's a real, you know, Samsung battery or whatever it is, because
I
sometimes
found if you peel the label off, if you peel off the heat shrink, that usually they're stamped inside who was the original maker on the silver on the inside usually, and it has the numbers, like the numbers and the ratings and the MAH on the side. So that'll let you know. I mean, and these wraps are just cheap. You can always re-shrink wrap, you know, if you know what you're doing. I've done a handful of them.
Steve says,
you know?
I think Steve must have missed us last time because he says, did you get a different emitter on that Saber, Gabe? I don't remember that copper. Yeah, because we talked about last time that Gabe
Painted
actually
updated
updated his hilt.
Yeah, let me
so
show real quick again so he can he can see that if he can see this.
So this
Steve.
was mostly black. This saber was like very tactical looking before. It was like almost all black, wasn't it, Gabe? Or did it have those exposed ribs there? Were silver in the middle?
These were always exposed. Everything else was and the choke part, but everything else is all black all the way up. It was just a little bit. Did look tactical, but for my personal taste, it was just too much black. It was like too dark for me. So I just literally just went to Lowe's and bought some gold chromes, spray paints, and then I bought also a can of clear coat sealer and just did the job myself. It's not 100%. I have no experience doing this. I really want to get it powder coated, so I'm in the process of talking to a buddy of ours that does that. I'm probably going to get the pommel powder coated gold to match this stuff over here.
If you powder coat that, Gabe, you're going to have to take it apart.
Yeah, I know. That's the reason why I'm in the middle of talks, because we'd have to gut this whole thing out in order to do that. Yep. So I'm still on the fence as to whether I want to do that or not, or just leave it be and have just the pommel powder coated, because I can take this off, and get it done. But I don't know yet.
One thing I will say is Mad Cow does a nice tidy job inside. So if we do have to get into it, it looks fairly simple. Although I was afraid to.
Well, Mad Cow actually,
I didn't want to hurt it.
Mad Cow actually has a video on his channel how to take it apart and how to take everything out.
Oh, nice. Okay, even better. That's cool. So maybe we can pull that out cleanly, because it is a CFX. You got the best of the best, in my opinion. CFX, Yeah. And you can, we'll just put it back in,
What do you think? What should I do? Yeah, man, definitely.
Baby Yoda said, make new saber.
Night Reaper 316 says, "Good evening, guys and gals. Good evening, Night Reaper. Thanks for joining
Night
us."
Reaper.
Yo. Anyone got
else?
any other saber questions?
Yeah, let me look through here. There's a couple comments here. Rich Sangilla says, "Did anyone see the Clone Wars? Ahsoka was kicking ass." I did not see it, but I saw.
I didn't see tonight. I'd be watching it right now, actually.
Oh, well, I think, did some people see it early? Because I saw some videos posted. I guess some people get early access and make videos, but I saw some like thumbnails that people that were previously unhappy seemed happy with this episode. So I think it must have been good. Rich says, I loved how they opened with the main theme. Always gives me chills. Okay, so then it gives me hope when I watch these. Was tonight's like some sort of finale for this season?
I don't think
7?
it was. I think it was the second story in this season, and it involved Ahsoka.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know, it's like 5 episodes, and that's how Clone Wars worked, basically. Every 4 episodes or so was its own little individual story with certain main characters, be it Ahsoka, Rex, Anakin, and they follow that story arc for 3 or 4 episodes. I didn't see tonight. I'm excited to see it.
I didn't see it tonight either.
I'm gonna grab some dinner and watch it tonight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check it out tonight. And I've been really liking the storyline, what they're doing with Ahsoka. They're following her into into her. It's just after she left the Jedi Academy, basically.
Oh, you mean in the one episode where she like walks away from the Jedi that it picks up right there?
Yeah.
That's cool. Then I'm interested to see that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, and she's my favorite character, probably in all of Star Wars. Only second to Anakin / Vader. I like the good and bad,
One thing I wanted to ask you, Harris, because you always talk about Ahsoka, and one thing occurred to me yesterday that I made a comment, I think, on Twitter or something about it. People were talking about Ahsoka. I wanted to know why, because in the beginning, when they made that first Clone Wars movie, that was basically like widely hated, and like everyone thinks it's trash. That Clone Wars, I guess it's like an 1.5-hour movie that they kicked off the Clone Wars with, and
I've seen
Ahsoka's introduced in that, right? My question is, why does everyone like Ahsoka but doesn't like that movie? Like, if that movie
I'm going to tell you what
intro, I think. How did they turn it around to where people love Ahsoka, where she was introduced in this
I can answer that. I can answer that for you. One of the things that I really like about the Ahsoka and the Anakin character is the fact that they're almost like brother and sister. They came together during a war. And you could, for me, it's a cartoon, but these guys who are drawing this stuff, just like when you read a comic book, man, it pulls the emotion out of you. And that whole relationship of brother and sister, again, we're getting to see Anakin as a Jedi training a Padawan, and the relationship and the fondness and, the inseparable, just like he had with Obi-Wan. And even though that movie wasn't that great, the art was a little different, if I remember correctly. It just, following her through that situation. And then I'll tell you what really did me in was the way they portrayed her in Rebels. For me, when you got one character that transcends two huge, environments of this world that we love, it's great. And I think she's a strong character. I don't care that she's a woman. I don't look at her like a woman, man. I look at her as a butt kicker.
Just a badass Jedi.
Yeah, she really has, she's the way she thinks. I love the episode from Clone Wars where, and again, I think it was a 2 or 3 part episode where she loses her lightsaber. She's traveling somewhere with Anakin, and she loses her lightsaber. And
she only has one?
Pickpockets her.
Oh, I do remember that one.
At the time, she only had one, I believe. It was the full-size one. It was the one that had the bunny ears on each side, kind of had a Graflex with a spine down the middle, interior,
Right.
like an inner cut. Yeah, and she loses it. And I forget the Jedi's name. He was an older Jedi, like much, much older. He was like an old guy. So much so that he hid his lightsaber in his cane. And you'll throw back to what's his name from Harry Potter, hid his wand in the cane.
Oh yeah, Lucius Malfoy.
Yeah, Lucius Malfoy hid his wand in the cane. So just even that little trio of pieces of art for me, the way that she handled the situation, the way that he went with her to track down, and he, patience is a virtue, really, it gets to me, multiple reasons why I love the Ahsoka character. I love what they did with her in Rebels. It was a much more mature, where in Clone Wars, she was kind of like, like I'm guessing 15, 17, Anakin was maybe in his late 20s, early 30s. The relationship between him and her, I love everything about her. I mean, I think I would be happy as anything if Lucasfilm started making her a main character in her own 2-hour flick. I know a lot of people feel that way. They killed her off in Rebels. They brought her back. Anything's possible, No
one's
but
ever really gone.
Yeah, no one's ever really gone. We say it all the time, But I really like the Ahsoka character. I like what they've done with her. Dave, what's his name, Filoni, and Jon Favreau. I think can really. I'm excited to see her next year in the what's his name?
The
I can't
Mandalorian.
think of his name.
Mandalorian.
Yeah, the Mandalorian. Yeah, I can't wait to see her in that live action. And I hope that just the way they portray her just carries into that,
Night,
and I'm done my rant.
Night
I'm done my
Reaper
rant.
says it's about. I'm about to convert a Master Replica's Mace Windu using the stock 6AA battery pack. My question is, can I use a purple LED module from US? Will that battery setup power? Will that battery setup powered adequately? What say you guys?
So when you're using 6AA's, are we talking and a purple? We need to be a little bit more defined. You're using a purple LED, like Ant. What do you think? What kind of LED would we use? And would
What I
those
would probably-
6 LEDs would power a single LED? And I think that the best way is to use a buck puck, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, I would probably, let's see, I use a purple LED from Ultra Sabers. Will the battery setup work from the Master Replica's Mace Windu? Well, I think what I would do if I wanted to find that out is I would probably take the Ultra Sabers and I would use my cheap little battery tester, right, Harris? And I would find out like what's the Ultra Sabers outputting, like what's the battery that Ultra Saber. So if it's 3.7, let's say, and I would go and then I'd go to the 6 AA battery pack on the Master Replicas and test that. What's that outputting? What's the way the 6 AA's are configured? It's probably it might be putting out 4.5,
Well, and then you got to
1.5,
know, like,
1.5, 1.5, maybe.
what can a purple LED handle? And when you say purple, are we talking a blue and a red mix? Or are we talking an actual purple LED?
Oh, that's a good question too. Yeah, if it's I don't know how Ultra Sabers builds theirs if they're using like an RGB and then mixing a purple from a red and blue, and if
Right.
they are. And you're just going to try to attach that AA battery pack onto your Ultra Sabers. You know, if it's 4.5, you know, it might be a little experiment, but I think it might work.
What's
as
a
far as
double A?
runtime,
1.5?
yeah, so it'd be like depending on the way that pack is wired, right? With 6 AA's, I'm assuming it's
Yeah.
1.5, 1.5, 1.5 for a total of 4.5, which kind of equals like back in the day, the nickel metal hydride battery packs would be like that type of output, you know, and that's like what Ultra Sabers also used to use back in the day. So also depends on
Yeah,
the age
I
of the
have
Ultra Saber.
I have an
It
old
might
Ultra
match up.
Sabers upstairs. I think it's one of their little hilts, and I have it upstairs, and I use it for the kids. I give it to like anytime the kids come over and we're playing with lightsabers. It's kind of I bought it. It has 4 AA's, and it's a like a deep blue LED. So, and I mean, I basically in 3 years I think I put 3 sets of batteries in it. You know, the battery runtime gets me huge time. You know, you're going to cut that using a purple if you're using a blue and a red because you're mixing and you're pulling 2 LEDs now. You know, a little bit of red and a little bit of blue to mix and get that purple. So it's going to affect as versus doing a straight color like a red, a green, a blue, unless you're using an individual LED as a purple LED. That's where that question falls.
Rich says
Yeah.
MHS is great for scrap flex. Yeah, the Saber that Harris and I are going to do for the FX Sabers forum contest, which is basically I don't think it's called Scrap Flex contest, but it might as well be because it's called the Flash Gun contest. And if you guys want to go there and check out the Flash Gun challenge, which is I think it's under LED Sabers in the FX Sabers forum. So if you go to FX Sabers forum, click on forum, scroll down to LED Sabers, and then the Graflex contest, it's going to be pretty cool because we're going to take pieces from Graflex or any type of flash gun that you want, and you can attach them onto MHS parts or use just flash gun parts with electronics. It doesn't have to have sound, but it just has to light up. And then you guys can enter that as long as it has some bits of a flash gun in the original design. So you take something off of a flash gun, you make an original design out of it, and join this contest that Harris and I are taking part in. It's just a cool thing in the community. There's really no like prize or anything other than to say like, hey, I won that Graflex contest. That's the prize. But Melissa says, sorry for the type mistakes. I've fortunately had to turn off my screen reader. It was constantly not functioning. I do not know what was going on. Yeah, no worries, Melissa. I know that some of you
glad to have you.
trouble with that. Yeah, we're just glad to have you here.
We're glad you're here.
Just did 2 of them. Oh, you did 2 scrap flexes. Cool. Oh, so Melissa's gonna type it on her own. She says, "Forgive the mistakes." Yeah, no worries at all. You do better than the reader anyway, I'm sure. Just call it the Skywalker Saber. Yeah, especially I guess we're talking about with the Graflex or any scrap flex, you could call it Skywalker. Like, I wonder, we were kind of talking about it the other day about any of these. I think Gabe, were you mentioning it, or Bill on the other show was talking about the the High Republic and how there might be a Skywalker, and we were kind of musing about what would that saber be? Would it be like, it might be like a Scrap Flex, it might be like a Graflex looking thing, but just look older than a Graflex.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't Ray's saber in that last movie a Scrap Flex, technically?
Wasn't it based off of
Oh,
her,
I mean, it was destroyed, and she took the Graflex and rebuilt it.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, I guess
It
so.
just had a leather strap around the middle, basically.
Like, what would we have done if that entered the contest? We'd be like, oh, that's not enough. That's not
You're like,
enough.
that's not good enough.
Yeah.
What are you
But-
kidding me?
It was pretty cool. Maybe if we saw it, actually, well, I don't know. I don't know if they featured it more in the first half of the movie that I missed. I'll have to go back and watch it. What I plan to do is I'm trying to work out like logistics of how I want to do this, but I want to do like a commentary to all the Star Wars movies, like one by one, eventually ending with Episode 9. See
Like
how
an
that-
MST3K thing, right?
What's that? Oh yeah.
You want to watch and critique while the movie's going on.
Basically, just like that. But I, giving
Make jokes.
what things that I know about the movie, sort of either behind the scenes or whatever. Not along the lines of like when the stormtroopers are going to hit their head and when and stuff. I don't know that stuff, but I know like some other stuff that maybe I could point out.
I'll be honest with you. I'm a little jealous. Gabe's hanging with Yoda. I'm lonely here. I'll be right back. I'm going to go see who I can find to hang with me.
Okay. He's got some puppet or something he's going to bring on.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll come back in a costume.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for smooth swing. That's what mine is getting to, Melissa's World said. Yes. Yes, for smooth swing.
Yeah, we love it.
Smooth swing is the best thing.
I think
One of the
everybody
best
loves
things
it.
that's
Everybody
ever
that's
happened.
like tried smooth swing is
This is my friend Gabe Jr.
that is
think
a
he
little
looks like you,
creepy.
Gabe.
That's
He looks
Gabe
like me.
Jr.
That's me with a haircut.
I was gonna say he needs some kind of hair.
Yeah, that's me with a haircut.
Yo, you ready?
That's hilarious.
Rich gets annoyed if there's a font in his saber that isn't smooth swing, and so does Gabe, and so does
Yo,
Harris.
that's me. That's totally me. It's funny. Look.
Oh, I know why you said that's Gabe, because we were gonna chop off Gabe's head, and that was gonna be
Yeah.
Gabe's head.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be like Saber Talk number 25.
Yeah,
that was
number 25
before
on it.
I stopped numbering them. I was like numbering them up until 20.
Hey, to comment on Rich, I was actually thinking about the other day. I was actually thinking about going through my SD card and deleting all non-smooth swing fonts because I get annoyed by anything
Because
that's not
you
smooth.
like bypass them anyway when you.
I
come up to
bypass
the-
them. I got like 45 of them. I'm just skipping through them to get to the smooth swing. I'm just sitting there like next. Okay, smooth
Wasting your
swing.
battery.
My whole desktop
Yeah.
is full.
Yeah.
My whole
So
desktop is full of files, and every
Yeah.
file with the Saber font that I bought.
yeah. But then I figured, no, let me hold off because I got some stuff you guys might want that you don't have. So
We can make a couple different like copies, like one where it's like your May 2020 files, your June 2020 files, whatever you're like onto
Yeah,
at
yeah.
the time.
yeah.
Yeah, like at first with the smooth swing, I'm like, what's the difference? What's the big deal? And then like you start playing with it, you're like, oh wow, this is wild. This is like really this is like aggressively realistic. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah.
Hey Harris, cool glass lightsabers on the shelf behind you. You got glass lightsabers on the shelf behind you?
Yes, that's what they
No.
are. Glass lightsabers. Yes, glass lightsabers. That's what they are.
It's my scientific glass collection. Who posted that app?
Oh, Rich says the Panasonic battery does not have enough drain for the Neo. Yeah, sometimes, it's good to have a lightsaber like Gabe where you can replace the battery so easily because that way, I mean, that's really why Mad Cow does it. Like there's like different tiers of like saber people, and there's people that I call saber gods, and Mad Cow is one of the saber gods, Master Yoda on FX Saber forums, Irv at Plector Labs, they are saber gods. Mad Cow at Genesis Custom Sabers is a saber god. They control what happens in the saber world. They, Alan at Vader's Vault and Deanna are saber gods. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's like different levels of.
That's the real Jedi console.
Yeah, like they are the saber gods. They figure out what we're all gonna do, and at some point, one of the saber gods came out with smooth swing, right? Frederick or Andrus, or at some point someone wrote the code for Smooth Swing, they're like automatically a saber god, I would say. And you know, for Mad Cow to put the removable batteries, he knows because he's a saber god, so he knows that the best thing to do is to have a removable battery. Now, we don't do that. There's like certain annoyances with a removable battery, like for instance having to unscrew the hilt to put in another battery versus just plugging in a charger, which is always easier, I think, and less moving parts is always better. Less, with the threads on, the threads off, eventually you open yourself up for twisting it a certain way and maybe screwing something up, right? So plugging it in, I think, is better, but the true best way is to have a removable battery, because the lithium-ion batteries, basically, they're kind of like Sith Lords, like they can't be trusted. Eventually something is going to go wrong in the battery itself, and you'll have to deal with it at that point. Would lithium-ion batteries work for NeoPixel blades? Yeah, well, that's what we prefer. Anything older, the older type of batteries, such as nickel cadmium, which is like the oldest type that I know of, and the nickel metal hydride, which is the next level up from nickel cadmium. Nickel metal hydride was an improvement, but lithium ion is more of an improvement still. And lithium has a lot of different like families of batteries. So you have like lithium polymer, lithium ion, lithium manganese batteries, lithium. There's different lithium batteries, but basically overall lithium batteries is what we want to use in our sabers. We want to use the protected version. Let's see. Ryan Cannell, what's going on, buddy? He's here. She's always been too OP, in my opinion. Filoni will never let her die. He's talking about Ahsoka. Yeah, the one thing I did like about Ahsoka was that when the Jedi did her dirty, she walked away. That was interesting, because that was something that I kind of wasn't expecting from that cartoon, was to have one of the characters turn away from the Jedi, but the way that they treated her, it did seem like a slightly, such a move, almost like from some kind of gangster movie, that she had to do what she had to do at that point. But yeah,
showed strength in her character, I think.
And the other thing that I do like about Ahsoka is that she's an alien. I am really, really sick and tired of the fact that they're like really denying us aliens in the past few years with Star Wars stuff. We used to get a lot more aliens. Aliens are where it's at.
Hair, what is her hair? Is it like, you think it's like in how, I mean, I've seen like live action or cosplay people do Ahsoka, but what is her hair? You think it's like an octopus tentacle would be, or like if her like maybe the creatures from her planet, like I'm trying to figure out if it's hair or tentacles or an armature. What is it? I don't know what it is.
I think it's like Leku on the Twi'leks, where it's like hard, but it's like firm,
like a horn.
Yes, like almost a horn. And there is another Jedi Master who died at Order 66. I think was like a similar
creature.
Let's see here. She is a Togruta female, is what they say here at Wikipedia, I guess. She's a Togruta female. I wanted to see what's the other. I thought there was another character that was like a male version of her species.
I think there was another Jedi, wasn't there?
Yeah.
What movie in the prequels? Was it the third movie where there's like an outtake or a deleted scene that has the Jedi? Shakti? Is that which Jedi it was?
Yeah.
Looks similar. Looks very similar to Ahsoka.
Yeah, and I think that let me try to find like a description of that, because I think it's like extrasensory, where like people with like the Twi'leks with their Leku can kind of sense stuff with their horns and with their whatever that's called
Okay.
the material. It's like extra skin and almost like ears.
Okay.
And I think it's similar with this crew of people.
So it gives them like an advantage.
I think so, yeah. But also, in
Okay.
a sense, a disadvantage when they talk about, like, there's been Star Wars stories where to, like, punish a Twi'lek, they will sever one of the Leku. And it's like,
Okay.
since it's, like, so extra sensory, it hurts more. It's like a nipple. Like, you know how if someone,
Okay.
like, pinched your nipple would really hurt?
Yeah.
Like, these things are, like, sensitive, but they're also
I gotcha.
a benefit to them as well.
Gotcha.
It's not easy to find out about those things. I'll have to look. But
Be
back
cool
when I
if
was,
they like would show something like using that in a, I don't know, in some kind of a situation. They don't really talk about that too much, you know.
Yeah.
let's see.
Cleaning my ear pods.
Rich thinks her character is well developed.
Oh, definitely.
They will definitely not let her go. He says, unlike Rey, who's not well developed. Yeah, they
Right.
did not do a good job with those. Usually, we want to see a character go through something. We don't want to see them start out as the best in the universe. That's not interesting.
Agreed.
Jake Soft is here. What's going on, buddy? There are purple high-powered LEDs now. I thought we always had a mix to get those. No, they have purple. Well, actually, with the high power, because with those saber forges and ultra sabers, I do think that there was purple LEDs in some of those. It all depends on like when they came out. Some of the older ones, they're like a nickel metal hydride powered like ultra sabers 2.0 with a purple LED. If I'm not mistaken, like one of those was in my Bane from a bunch of years ago, from like 10 years ago. Maybe it'd be a different version of the Graflex in the High Republic. I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to read the books. Well, I wouldn't get these books, Melissa. These books are going to be awful. Get the older books where
Which
there's
one? The
like
High
actual.
Republic books?
Yeah, the High Republic books are
I
going to be
heard that
terrible.
they canceled them or something.
Oh, they got. I hope they get canceled. But
I read somewhere that they were. I think that they were gonna get canceled or so. I don't know.
they should be canceled because they're
Could be just
it's
stupid
an
rumors.
awful idea with awful people working on them. May not be able to read the High Republic. My low vision unless I get don't read the High Republic. Forget those. Forget the High Republic. Get the Thrawn trilogy from the early 1990s. Get the Darth Bane trilogy. When you're done with those, check out the New Jedi Order. And what I did for the New Jedi Order, I did not read all of them. I read selected books. There were 17 books or 19 books. I read like 9 or 10 of them. Just the ones that I wanted to. But I might go back. And, I would kind of read the synopsis, and then I would choose which ones I felt like, this was at the time when they came out, like 15, 20 years ago, that I would select, due to like limited time and stuff, I would select things like, oh, okay, Han Solo and Chewie and their kids are they're in this book a lot. I would buy that book. I would read that book. But if I felt like not a major event happened in that book, sometimes in those books, like major characters died, so I made sure I had those books. Oh, are they converted for print or braille? I'm not sure with those. Well, the High Republic hasn't come out yet, so I'm not sure if those are going to be in braille or not. So many broadcasters phoning in from home. The production value of Saber Talk is now on par better with the mainstream media. Thanks, Jake. That's really nice of you to say that. That is really nice of you to say that. The High Republic books, I read that one already. Thexter created Smooth Swing. He is a saber god, in my opinion, because that is a leap forward, like light speed
Huge.
leap forward. and
Huge.
made everybody change their tune. If you ask me, I don't know what would have happened if Smooth Swing did not come out. I'm not sure if Plector Labs, let's say, would have changed their hardware format as quickly as they did. It was probably more of like a necessary thing to do because Smooth Swing was introduced and everybody wanted that amazing sound
I get nervous when it's easy.
that you really do hear the difference
Feel it.
and feel the difference, especially in a Saber like the one Harris built for himself, where his speaker acts like a little bit of a vibration in there. When on a high bass font, you will actually feel the audible vibrate. You will
Better-
feel the vibration through the hilt.
Better
and
than
when the
ever
sound
putting
changes.
a vibration motor in there. I
Harris
think
is
the
not a
vibration
fan
motors.
of, the vibration
No.
Rumble,
motors.
the
Harris-
Don't need
rumble
it.
motors.
Yeah, rumble motors. But some
Don't need it.
customers, like my friend Mark, he wants the rumble motor. I have them here. I put it in. But Harris is right. If the speaker's mounted really nicely and for some reason in this Graflex, I guess because of the wideness of the hilt and because of the bottom, the way that the two shells go together on a Graflex, this Harris, I can't feel, and there's two speakers in here.
No.
But I don't think I could feel it. But in many Sabers, including yours,
Try
I know what you're
sealing up
talking
around the
about.
speaker. Try sealing up, maybe thickening up the outer. I forget how we mounted the speaker in there.
Well, see,
But
it's
try-
all basically, there's a lot of space in here because the chassis is, in a sense, although it's solidly mounted, it's mounted.
You want to seal that speaker area. You want to seal it so that sound comes out the front and sound comes out the back, but nothing mixes where the speaker goes around. Try that if you can.
I don't think it's possible
forget,
with
it's been a
the
while. No?
Graflex, but with many other Sabers, you can definitely do that.
Yeah,
at
you
least not with
definitely want to seal it up. You're sealing up that air hole and letting the sound push off of something. It needs something to push off of, like a home stereo. The speaker is mounted in a little cabinet or a guitar amplifier. This Gabe, you would know. A speaker's mounted into a cabinet. And that sound has to push off the back end of the cabinet to force the sound forward and even behind it. I know some guitar players will even turn their amplifier around on stage, face it backwards, and then mic the back of the amp, which is facing forwards. I don't know. Gabe,
I
don't know
want
if you've
to
ever
show
heard
you
that.
something here. And you guys have seen this, but I'll just talk about it for a second. So, my like the spaceship thingy that I made there,
Yeah.
where it's like, that's actually an enclosure for my speakers. So you can see there's a couple speakers there. So I try to do like what I learned from Lightsabers and from working at a shop that did the car stereos back in the day, that you needed to build a box around your speakers to get like the best sound.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I have the rear speakers in that enclosure there, and then I have the front speakers there. And actually, if you could see on the left of your screen, there's like a box cut out, and that's where the subwoofer is for this like little. It's kind of a home stereo that I got off Amazon or something, and I just like housed it in there. The speakers facing out of those gray vents you see there. Those are the front speakers, and then the rear speakers there. And so when I'm standing like underneath this archway, like the
Sounds
sound is the best in the spaceship, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I kind of have this arch, this wave of sound, but it's loudest underneath there.
Love it.
Hey, Jake Soft says Dexter gave us Smooth Swing. Plector and Profi both use algorithms based on Dexter's original white paper. Nigon has his own version of dynamic swing.
Yeah, I saw a couple days ago, or maybe yesterday, Nigon put out a couple videos. So I guess there's updates on his version of the dynamic swing. Sokatana is a what? She is a what did I say? A Tor something. No, I'm on a different page. I'm still looking at her. Her code name's Fulcrum. Let's see. We knew that. What did I say she was? Starts with a T. Now I can't find it. Rebel Army, Anakin's apprentice, we know that. I gotta go back to that page I was on before. Togruta female. That's Togruta. Yeah, I don't think I came across that. There was the apprentice to Darth Zana in the at the end of the Darth Bane trilogy. Darth Zana kind of finds somebody, and she's a different species than Ahsoka, but it's almost like she has that stuff around her head as well, and it's similar to one of the Jedi that we're familiar with in the prequel era. That they have these. It looks like a headdress, but it's really part of them, right?
I always thought they were just like Harris said, like some kind of tentacles.
Yeah.
Because I think when she's jumping around or something, don't they like move around a
Don't
bit?
really, well, the tail of it moves.
Yeah,
Like
so I always thought it was like
lays against her shoulder.
Yeah,
But
so I always
not
thought
up
it was
here.
like
Up here it's
fleshy.
pretty tight.
Yeah, so I always thought it was like it's to create the illusion of hair, I guess. You know, because I saw that it's like a skin type, almost like cartilage, like your
Yeah.
ears or something.
Here we go. I'm
Yeah.
gonna find it out right now. Okay, you were right. So Shakti was the same thing. They are from the planet Chile. So it's like Chile, but with an S. That's where the Togrutas are from.
Or pronounced Chili.
Yeah, I guess so. Got the better take on it. Okay, so they're calling these things on their head Montrals. Montrals or head
Oh, you know what?
tails.
I did read that. Montrals. That's right.
Serve to hide them from predators. Okay, so I guess they can like hide in their on their home world. And on their home world, they had a colony of 50,000 people. And that's not very many, is it? 50,000 people. That's not many.
If I remember my Ahsoka history, she was orphaned young or abandoned young, and Plo Koon, the Jedi
Found
Plo
her,
Koon,
yeah.
found her and brought
Started
her
her
to the
training
Jedi
up
Academy.
a little bit, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's been mentioned that she was very close to Plo Koon.
You know, I almost never bought the whole deal though that like Anakin had an apprentice. I thought, well, at first when I saw that whole thing, I was like, okay, that's a cool take, but it never really I never really believed it. You know, that Anakin had an apprentice. I didn't think there was like enough time there.
I mean, yeah, really. I mean, there's so much to know about our favorite characters that hasn't even been written yet. I mean, we don't know, you know, there's a huge jump between Anakin at 17, 18, 19, and then, you know, in the last movie where he looks to me like he's late 20s, early 30s, I would say. So, you know, that fills in a lot of that blank space, but there's still so much that can be done with the character, you know? I mean,
that's probably done intentionally, though, so that they have the opportunity, like you're saying, to do more later on down the line.
Yeah, I would hope they do. I mean, you know, because I want more. I want more of her. I think she's awesome. I think she's a great character. She's probably one of my favorites. Probably
Gabe,
my
Steve
favorite.
is asking, did you get those pre-on and pre-off sounds removed? I think you guys did, right? You struggled with that for a little while, but you did eventually get those sounds you didn't want on there removed, right? On your Saber? Is Gabe frozen? He might be frozen. I don't know. He's not moving.
Gabe, can you hear us?
He might be a little bit frozen out there in space. Mark is here. What's going on, Mark? Did you guys notice that your backgrounds are in line with how you've described your relationship with the hobby in a previous Saber talk? No, I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Like red,
Oh,
green,
here we
purple.
go. He said, Space Windu, ultra
Gabe.
elite guy in a spaceship. Harris, a tinkerer in in a basement or garage. Gabe, regular guy on a couch. Yeah, I guess so. I guess you're right. That's absolutely right.
Isn't
That's
that
kind
what
of
we've
how we
always been?
started out too. Yeah, that's kind of how it always started out. Where Gabe was somebody who was like the novice to lightsaber sort of, and then Harris was the guy who always loved Star
hobbyist.
Wars and the doing stuff, tinkering on his workbench. And then I was in
consider
my
you a master,
spaceship.
dude. Absolutely.
Oh, thank you, Jake. Thanks for supporting us. Thanks for always coming in here and listening. Jake is like one of our #1 Saber Talk fans. I know he's listening to these shows sometimes when you're doing your work and stuff, aren't you? And doing your saber building and programming and tinkering.
We love having you, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jake from State Farm. I mean, Jake's off. Right? We thank Jake.
Are any of the baby Yodas that you're getting, like, do they talk or anything? Like Harris said that one of them's animatronic. Does that mean it has a remote control and you push buttons, or it means you just move the arms?
I think you push the head. It's got a button in the head.
Yeah, it doesn't have remote controls or nothing like that. It's like exactly what Heshi's saying. It's just got like some kind of sensors on it throughout the body or something, and it just reacts to stuff. The next two that I'm getting are those, the animatronic ones.
Harris, do you have like a full-size R2? Or did you ever have a full-size R2?
No, you know what I actually have? I have in my basement one of the, I forget what movie it was brought out. I have a family member that hooks me up with stuff through the company. It was an advertisement R2-D2 cooler. You can put sodas in. I can show it to you guys if you want. I can walk out and show it to you.
Oh, he went blank.
Steve,
hold on.
I saw
I'm back. Hang on.
Real quick.
I saw. You can see it right here.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
It's a cooler. It's from episode 3. I had a friend of mine.
Oh yeah, because I remember seeing something like. Okay, yeah. Now I remember what it is.
Yeah,
this is like you fill that up with ice. You put your soda cans in there.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. You put It was an advertisement at a supermarket, and from what I understand, they go for big money now on eBay. But I'll never sell that. I'll probably be buried in the thing, to be honest with you.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's cool.
Yeah.
Like when we can get back to having like a barbecue or something, we'll utilize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Is it on wheels? Is it on like wheels that we could wheel?
It's got like little rollers, little tiny roller casters. So if it's filled with ice and it's heavy, like you can move it through a store.
Okay, because I was almost thinking
it was like a super. Yeah, I think it's a Pepsi advertisement. It's got Pepsi on the side of it.
Oh, okay. Well, I was almost thinking, could we make it remote control where it could wheel up to people and serve drinks like R2 did in the movie?
Here, take a look on the side of his arms. You see the Pepsi logo?
Oh,
on the side of his arm. Yeah, and I think on the back of it, it's got like Pepsi on the back, and it's on rollers. But that's about it. I mean, it's pretty light with nothing in it. You're inside R2D. You're actually inside R2D2's head.
I think it's fantastic. I love that.
So
that's better than a real
R2 would see. Hi, how you doing?
That's R2. That's R2's point of view.
It actually serves cold drinks.
Yeah. Isn't that really what R2D2 did on the barge?
Yeah, on the sail barge.
Yeah, he was serving drinks.
That's funny.
Yeah, one of my little toys in my basement. It was nice. It was nice that my family friend knew that I was a Star Wars fan. You know what else I have, man? I'm going to probably bring to your house. I have 3 or 4 of the life-size cardboard standouts that when Star Wars comes out, they would put a life-size, like it's a 6-foot Darth Vader, but it's cut out. Would you put that in the ship?
It's a 6-foot Darth Vader, but what? What'd you say?
It's a cardboard cutout. Do you ever get like you see like a rock star and they sell like a 6-foot cardboard cutout?
Yeah, I used to have like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle thing in my room back when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's same kind of thing, only it's got a Pepsi advertisement at the bottom. So I think I have Vader, and Boba Fett and something else. They're all folded up. I should bring it to your
That would
house.
be
We
sick
should put them
if
up
we
in the ship.
if we had a one of those viewports that like Vader stares out of, and we had him standing there. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Or we had him like monitoring people go by outside, like from the window or something. Oh, Jake
Hey.
says he's writing some code right now.
No khakis though. Steve
Code for
asked.
what?
Steve asked earlier too if I saw Steve had a question for me and I didn't get to answer it, so I apologize, Steve.
Oh, that was when you froze up. Let me go back to that. Yeah, we were actually talking to you, and I was like, Gabe, are you moving? Because you were just still.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It's kicked me out. It
oh
just
yeah, the
let me see. Yeah,
pre-on
Gabe,
and pre-off.
did you get those pre-on pre-off sound removed like you were trying? Yes, I did, Steve. I'm sorry, I didn't get. I got booted off the website.
I know
somehow.
you and Harris worked on that like that night for a bunch of hours, and then I think you went home and took care of it, right? Because it just kind of they were still there when you went home or something.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out. I don't know. Me and Harris did try.
Yeah, there was like power off sounds
I was
that were
tired
occurring.
that night. That was the night I think I fell asleep.
You
on
fell
the
asleep
computer
right
that
there
night.
working on my Saber.
I was so tired, man.
Yeah, he fell asleep right there working on my
God.
SD card, and that's exactly what he was doing when he fell asleep. He was trying to
and I
remove
think
those.
Steve was sitting next to me while I was sleeping, right?
I think Steve had left, or maybe you were falling asleep earlier.
No, Steve.
Yeah,
Steve
I was so
left.
tired.
And
I had worked all weekend long, and I drove right to your house. And I'm about an hour away from you, Ant. So working all weekend long. It was a Sunday night. I got to your house about 7:00. I was so tired. I don't know how I didn't go home that night. I think I crashed at your place, Ant. I was such a mess.
So
I was devastated.
Yeah, so Steve, I did get to remove it thanks to you helping me out afterwards because I was explaining to you, Steve, how me and Harris couldn't get to it, couldn't figure it out. But I was able to go on there, like you said, and instructed me and removed. I didn't remove on every one because there's some pre-ons and post-offs and all that stuff that I do like on some of the sound fonts. But the one I was asking about, I did remove it.
Mark Fiala asks, sent out a Saberforge hilt for repair. Has a spark color 2 and no chassis. Only stays running for 5 to 30 seconds, shuts off and reboots. Figuring a bad battery holder. The other thing that it could be is a bad battery. Like we were talking about before, there's like whole range of batteries running from, $2 and $3 batteries from from China and different places that are like imitation of or like rebranded other batteries, maybe poor quality. Or it could be just a battery that is bad to start with. Maybe it's like a decent quality battery, but just was one of like sort of the lemons or whatever. But honest to God, being Saberforge, it's questionable about like how the wiring was like done in that, and what level of quality parts were used in it. I'm just assuming when I'm talking about it from how to, I had ordered Saberforge stuff in the past, and when I opened it up and looked inside, I wasn't too happy. So I'm just imagining scenarios when I speak about yours, but I'm thinking maybe it's a weak battery, a low quality battery, a bad battery, or some kind of loose connection where it just happens to work for 5 or 30 seconds and then the connection isn't touching. Maybe something's not touching inside that it turns off. Could be
I would say
like
your
that.
battery is probably the big problem.
Yeah, sounds like it for sure.
Yeah.
Where
Especially
are
if it's
you guys
it's
based out
arguable.
of? I am in New Jersey. Harris is in Pennsylvania. And Gabe, you're
I'm just
in New
outside of
Jersey?
Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm in Jersey too.
Gabe's in Jersey. I'm
Me
just
and Gabe
outside
are kind
of
of on the
Philadelphia,
opposite side of Jersey. I'm on the coast in the center on the coast, and Gabe is in the center, but on the west side, like right next to Philly, right, Gabe? Is that where
Yeah.
you're at?
Yep.
Jakesoff, have you ever seen that Saber Republic is working on new Brewboard V4? Perfect compliment for stream. I've seen that prequels I've always wondered what language it was speaking to Watto. Chut chut Watto. Yeah. I guess Watto's language. What is Watto again? A Toydarian. So I guess it's like he's probably speaking Toydarian, right? Speaking Toydarian language.
I don't like Watto.
Mark says, you don't like Watto?
Nah, he pissed me off.
I thought he could have been worse to Anakin, especially as a little boy. And he wasn't that bad. You know, he wasn't that bad. Like, he could have beat him. He could have, like,
Yeah.
sold him to Peds. He was pretty friendly.
Mark says, how about a battery recharge port?
Yeah, because, like, when I talk about the battery and stuff like that and the connections, if there's a bad connection, like let's say there's connections from the battery going, like wires from the battery going to the recharge port, and then those same connections got to go to your board. Anywhere in there could be the bad connection. So it could be like something connected to the recharge port could be kind of loose, and be like, you know, you're playing with the Saber, and then it's not, you know, it kind of disconnects from that spot that it's supposed to be soldered to, and it goes out. You know, happens to the best of us, for sure. You know, that's why we test. So like, even through a test, you may not discover some, you know, problem like that, or maybe the Saber's fine. They ship it out to you, gets bounced around in the shipping process. It lands to you, and there's a connection that was weak, right? Or maybe a cold solder joint that just popped off in the shipment, or popped off while you played with it. But even though it popped off, maybe it's still kind of touching where it's supplying power, and that's why you're getting some 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds. It could be that, or if it's
Also,
if it's,
it could be something getting hot. Maybe something is arced, like you had said
that's
earlier,
true,
like
too.
a wire, stray wire, or a piece of a stray wire could be arcing, and you know, once it runs for a minute and a half, maybe that piece is getting hot, and that is what is causing the board to shut down. So, you know, maybe run it. I don't know what your Saber looks like, but try running it open, touching parts of the board. See if you find anything that gets hot. Worst case scenario, you get a little zap. It's not going to hurt you. But yeah, try and find a hot spot. Yeah, and that could even happen on a recharge port too.
Oh, Rich says I was picking up Northeast accent. Yeah, I've heard people tell me that they could tell I'm from Jersey. And you know what's kind of funny? It's like when I go it's like when I go on vacation, I'll drive to Rhode Island. It's not that far from me, right? And it's like probably like a worse accent. I'll drive to Rhode Island. I walk into the breakfast place. They know immediately. They go, "Where are you from?" Like, how do you know I'm from anywhere? Like, I just walked into the breakfast. What?
Yeah,
and
I can't
like,
tell that kind of stuff.
I go to California. I walk into a place. They go, "So, where are you from? You having a good vacation?" I'm like, "What? Like, how do they all know that I'm not from there?" I don't even sometimes before I open my mouth. I don't
They
know.
hear the accent.
They
Like for
must
example,
hear,
I
they
have
hear
a
me coming
Philly
from
accent.
Jersey. What did you say,
I
Harris?
have a Philly accent. They used to kill me how I said Wooder.
Woodard.
Wudder. Wooder.
Yeah,
When
Wooder.
I lived in LA. I
Yeah.
used to get that all the time. Wooder.
I sound like Tina Fey on SNL.
No, Wooder.
You ever
That's
seen
a
that
Wooder?
episode where they make her say water?
Wooder.
I gotta
That's
say,
definitely a thing.
yeah.
you know what
Melissa's World says I'm in Florida.
Tweet. You know what tweet means? Yo,
Tweet?
you want to go get some tweet?
Oh,
Yeah.
Tweet. You hungry? Let's
Oh
go
my
get some
God.
tweet.
Okay, here we go. Chris Boyd says, I have a question. How would I take off anodization on a Saber with sandpaper around a switch area, but at the same time not take off any color on the switch itself? Would I put tape over it?
Try
So,
taping them.
Yeah, like
mean,
what I
that's-
would do is tape off the area you don't want to get sanded. And if you're using like a little bit of painter's tape, which is probably the safest kind of tape so that you don't hurt your button, you might want to use like a couple layers of it. And that also sounds like a tricky spot that you're talking about. Harris is showing you right here, like the blue style painter's tape that's really nice for covering parts of the hilt when you're going to either sand it or paint it.
I'll even
or,
use duct tape sometimes.
Yeah,
Duct tape
you
for
know what? You
things.
might want to use a piece of duct tape for the button, just a little tiny square, a little tiny circle, because when you do go to use your sandpaper, if you slip or if you're sanding and you take off the tape with one of your sanding strokes, you're going to scratch the button. You're going to scratch an area you don't want to scratch. So when
Yeah,
you
the
do,
ultimately the best way is to remove the button and put it back in.
yeah, but if a lot of people are not accustomed to fully disassembling their lightsaber, or maybe
Yeah,
they
I mean,
didn't
like
build it
if,
in the
if
first place.
somebody was asking me to build them a saber in that situation, and they wanted that finish taken off, of course. I mean, like I even told Gabe about a half hour ago. He's talking about having our friend Martin powder coat his stuff. I would personally gut the saber, do everything, do the aesthetics on the outside. If you're a car guy, you know, when you want to build yourself in 1978, smoking the Bandit Trans Am, you know, and you're doing a ground off restoration, you don't start with the paint. You start with the frame, and then you build, and it's a process. And you know, when it's time to paint, is the outside. That's the aesthetic. So it's a tough situation. If you want to, like, one thing I'm a stickler for is weathering. So you know, you can pay me. I'll roll your saber down the driveway. I'll sand your saber in parts where you want, and you know, everyone, you know, you want a little bit of light weathering, I'll hit a part. You know, so it's up to you. If you want weathering, you know, go around. Be careful. You want a saber to look used and loved, work around that spot. If you want that switch to remain pristine, best way to do it is pull it out, sand everything around it, and then put it back in.
Well, it's kind of like what Gabe just did, where he realizes, you know, he's at home, he's stuck at home, he can't get to like my shop or somewhere to, you know, actually do it the way that you take everything out and make your updates and then put everything back
Right.
in. You can go the route that Gabe went. You know, he taped off what he wanted to tape off. He sanded it. A nice thing to have is if you have access to some kind of blower, some kind of air compressor. Pump up your air compressor when you're done with your sanding, blow it off. My suggestion is to use multiple layers of your painter's tape on your areas of your hilt that you want to protect, because the sandpaper will probably take some of the tape off a little bit, at least one layer. So you put 2 and 3 layers, 4 layers of the painter's tape around where you don't want the paint to come off, the anodizing to come off. But the cool thing about anodizing is it's so strong that even if your sandpaper rubs on it a little bit, I will probably bet you that it won't damage it. But your button is another story. So yeah, like try to use, like Harris said, maybe a little piece of duct tape, as long as you don't think that the little sticky bits of the duct tape will stay there once you remove it. You know, you got that, like that's kind of why I talk about using painter's tape, because the residue that will come off of it, there'll be zero. But another type of tape that's stronger, like duct tape, there might be a bit of residue, but you might want to try it just in case that the painter's tape is not strong enough as you pass by with your sandpaper, if it keeps, you know, being removed. Let's see. Hexx Sabers. Hey guys, long time, first time I think, commenting. What sabers are you guys looking forward to getting or releasing this year? Wait, I want to answer this one for Harris, because Harris wants his flame saber. Okay.
Yeah.
Harris wants his flame saber. He's praying right now, and he is praying every night to the saber gods. Please, 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 please deliver to him
The flame.
before he moves, and then the flame is going to get delivered to the new owners of the happy people inside his home that will have a flame.
Yeah.
And Harris won't have it. So it better be delivered by, let's say, August. So we need that flame. We need that flame in our hands. It is the eternal flame. I think that's what you're going to call it, right, Harris? You're going to call it the eternal flame.
Yeah, because that's how long he waited for it, eternally.
Oh, I think. Oh wait, is he muted somehow? Harris, your mic is muted.
I'm waiting for the Leia one. That's the one I want, is Princess Leia saber. Right, Baby Yoda?
Oh, it's saying your mic isn't connected, Harris. I don't know. If
Oh,
you
you might
if you think
that.
it's something going on your end, just go out and come back in again. Oh, there you are. We should hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There you are.
Yeah. I was just praying. You guys saw.
Yeah.
I showed my allegiance.
Harris wants the flame, and what's the flame made by? I'm gonna pull it up. Who's the flame made by?
Good Lord, I can't think of the names.
I can think of other lightsabers
Sabercraft.
that they made.
Sabercraft. They make a
Sabercraft.
lot of the belt stuff. The Iris, Sabercraft Iris. They make the claw, which I have one. They make some nice stuff. Sabercraft in Turkey. I think Turkey is where they're at. I'm hoping
still-
I get I want my flame.
Yeah, the flame is something we've been waiting for
I'm
a
gonna
while
pull up
now.
a picture of this thing.
That thing is total
It's
badass.
pretty. It's pretty, and I get why they call it the flame. It's got if you hold it upright, it's got a slender, like a torch, like an Olympic torch.
Yeah.
You know, it's an awesome looking hilt. It's got a nice chassis inside of it. They call it the Saber thorax, which a thorax is like.
Oh, wait,
the
is
center
it?
part
This
on
is a picture I had not
a
seen.
bug
Let
of
me
some
show you
kind?
guys this picture. This
What's
is a
that?
picture. I pulled up a picture I had not seen before. Check this out. This is on their Facebook page. Sabercraft. Is this the flame, Harris? This is an angle
that's
I've
it.
not seen. That's an
Yeah,
angle
it's
I've not seen. Doesn't that look a lot bigger than you thought, Gabe?
Yeah.
That looks different in this angle.
It looks almost
That
as big as the
whole lower
Graflex.
section
Yeah, it
takes
looks like a
me to,
Graflex in this
like
angle.
the Kylo Ren early, the Ben Solo hilt.
Yeah.
It looks like a Graflex that is missing a bunch of metal. like they strategically removed so much metal,
Yeah.
but it's still like a Graflex, except for the fact that it has a cover tech wheel, so that's a little different than a Graflex. But you know what
and it's a
Sabercraft?
custom cover tech. If you look at it, it's got flames in it, cut around into the center of this cover tech wheel.
Sabercraft. Oh, and you know what else, Harris? This picture right here shows the mock bunny ears on this. I don't know if I've ever noticed that. Look at that.
I
That's
didn't
like
see that before.
That's like a mock bunny ear, don't you think?
Yeah.
You could be right.
That's sweet. That's like your favorite, isn't it?
I was thinking about putting a bunny ear on it.
I think this is good to go the way it is, and you have a lot to play with on your interior. Like, you know what you should focus on this one is the interior. Like, you know what you could do inside these.
Oh, I can't wait to do some NeoPixel stuff on the inside of it.
Yeah, like inside these
chassis is
ribs that
beautiful.
you could that are visible. You put your crystal in here, and you put your little doodads, your little greeblies that you put angled toward the crystal that you've been doing. And your crystal's going to be very detailed, and you hide your wires inside some tubes or something.
I believe that the crystal chamber on this that has a backlit section to it on a board, and it comes with the board. And see if you can find a setting of the crystal chamber on the back.
Look
It's
at this
open on the
photo,
back,
though.
like a,
This photo
like
is
a-
showing no bunny ears.
No, that one does not have the bunny ears.
I wonder which one it is, or if they're removable or whatever.
Maybe it's just an optional thing.
Yeah,
Oh
the
my,
crystal chamber on that hilt is exposed, and I believe there's a space for. I think I saw 6. I don't in the original artwork for it.
Okay, so
There
this
was
is the
space for
flame
6.
chassis, Harris. This is, I guess,
Yeah.
what slides out. This is it independent?
Yeah, the whole thing
Independently
comes
slides out.
apart. The whole thing can come apart. It's built around that whole chassis.
That
You
is
take everything
something
apart.
else.
You can even pull the crystal out of it.
This looks like a Jedi arms dealer type of build right here. I was going to say, Steve, if you're still watching, Steve from ST Productions, this is the type of lightsaber that you should be on the lookout for in the meantime while you, like, let's say, wait for someone like Jedi arms dealer to be able to do a crystal chamber for your build. Keep on the lookout for a saber that you think is really cool, even if it's like, let's say, this flame is probably sold out, right? But it's like people are waiting to receive it. So what you do when you want a saber like that is you keep an ear out, you join the forums, FX Saber forums, you join the Rebel Armory TRA forum, and what you do is when you start hearing that they've hit, right? So you hear Harris say, "Hey, I got mine in the mail," or he heard of someone that got his in the mail. You start looking at the for sale things on the forum. You start contacting people that you know are expecting it, and you say, "Listen, I want that lightsaber. If you decide to sell it, or if you don't want it when it arrives, here's my name. Here's I'm willing to pay $50 over the cost, or whatever you want to do." And that's how you can get, because a lot of people, the wait time is so long on these lightsabers. What happens is people's life changes as they wait for it. And they decide that maybe they don't want that anymore. There's something else that they want, or their situation is that maybe they fell out of the hobby. They don't want to do a lightsaber hobby anymore. They want to do music hobby or whatever. So that's how you can kind of get what you want, is like everything's sold out. Well, contact those people that are on the list that bought it. Talk to people on the forum. Say, maybe put it in the wanted section. And you could say, "Hey, I'm in the market for XYZ saber,"
True that.
Oh, look at that! Look at the form.
That's
on
the
this.
box. That's the
look at the
activation
form,
box.
though. There's a place for your thumb. Do you see that?
It's
There's
like-
an imprint here. That's something else. This has got a lot of detail in it. I
It's like
really can't wait to
Yeah,
see this.
and that plate that you see in the center there that looks like a card, like a saber card you would see, that's actually copper, and those grooves are cut into it, it looks like.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nice. Harris, this is going to be something else. This is going
I
to be
can't
something
wait,
you did
man.
not want to drop this.
I've been waiting. It's been February was a year, so a year and 14 months, 15 months now.
Gabe, were you going to talk about what you're waiting for this year, or what you're thinking about maybe getting this year?
I am waiting for the Leia saber.
Oh, yeah.
I
We were
saw,
talking about that the last show. I'll pull up a
last
picture,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, Corbanth is doing it, and KR Sabers. KR Sabers version looks way more detailed to me.
Wait,
more
is the KR Sabers version the Corbanth version, or this is different?
Is it the same?
Because I know in the past, Corbanth purchases KR Sabers hilts for sale, so I'm just wondering. I don't know. I'm just wondering. I'm gonna look it up because Rich is asking about, is there May the 4th deals on any of these sites? And I think Corbanth sent out an email. I don't know if it was about May the 4th, but let me see here. I think I saw something go on Corbanth. Let me pull up. The Corbanth site, because they have, like, I've got a couple Qui-Gons from there that Harris and I are going to install. One's for John, and the other one is going to be for sale on Civilized Sabers when we're done with it. They're both going to be NeoPixel installs, probably Crystal Focus 10.
Yeah, didn't I just repair a Qui-Gon at your house about a month ago or so? Did we repair Qui-Gon you had sitting up there for a while? In front of one of the TVs,
I don't think you worked on that with me. I don't think so.
Maybe I'm confusing it with something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think what we worked on that we repaired was an Anakin. That's for my friend
you're
Mike.
Right.
Yeah, and I've yet to actually. You reminded me. I have it written down over here, and I need to do the video on that and get that out to Mike.
Nice.
Let me see here. Oh yeah, hold on. Let me see here. I want to find out if there's a sale here for May, which maybe they don't. Have.
A lot of these trilogy type sabers are going for sale on TCSS right now. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
What do you mean, like empties? Empty hilts?
Yeah, like empty hilts. Like I think they have the Vader, the Vader. I think they have the Kylo Ren.
No, I'll tell you, TCSS will definitely have a May the 4th sale. They probably have something.
Oh yeah, every year they do.
They probably have something in the forum right now. We'll go over there and look.
Yeah, go over to hilt kits on the left-hand side there. And if you look at the pricing for some of those hilts, really good.
Yeah, this is I noticed this the other day too. This was kind of cool. For someone, you know, Steve, if you're still watching, talking about a crystal chamber, talking about something, you might be already be aware of this, but this is something that I think is cool. It actually says stock is available. So this is something for a Graflex build that you can, it's kind of a reveal kit that's pre-made. And it's only $40. I know it's just this part that's up on the screen here,
that's
but
the addition.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That's
I
in
think
addition
that's cool.
to the 2.5.
Right. So that's like something you get in addition to your hilt, and you add that in.
What is the Vader MPP going for right now?
Vader MPP Saber kit. This is out of stock right now, but it is $225, and I have one of these here. I believe that's for a customer. This looks nice. This looks pretty cool.
Oh, it's a beautiful hilt.
Different grip choices. I like the ones with the rivets in them for like Rogue One. That's like what the new Vader's Vault Saber, the Vader Generation 2 you can get in a different versions, I think, but they're displaying the Rogue One version in their introduction to it.
Check the LS6, the Luke Skywalker 6. See what that is going for. I know I saw some really good pricing on there this week.
Oh, this one's $125.
Yeah, I
but
can't beat that.
Does it come with that box? Because the box alone is like $40, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh, and this opens up like that. That's pretty
yeah,
neat.
It's got like gold wing doors to it that pop open.
You know, I have to work on a couple of these that have this type of emitter, and I'm just not a fan of like dealing with this when it comes to NeoPixel.
Yeah.
This is like not ideal. This type of thing where there's blade depth that you have to take into account. The blade has to be built a certain way. It's less ideal for like swinging hard and dueling, I think, because of the blade depth being like 1 inch maybe. I always prefer something like 1.5 or 2 or at best like 3 or 3.5. Like some like Mark who is in the chat here, Mark Saber, that's over here. You know that War Sabers that we did, Harris? There's like 3-inch blade depth on that. That's good for
absolutely,
for swinging around, for actually hitting against something, for dueling, making sure it doesn't come out. That's what you want. You don't want 1 inch or 0.75. Like maybe like Gabe said earlier, if he wants his Black Mamba to sit on the shelf, it does. You know, even the Black Mamba had 2.5 inch blade depth, but you just don't want to play around with something like that exactly.
The one I'm talking about, the Leia Saber, is not the Corbanth one. It is a custom one KR Sabers is doing or did. That's a lighter rose gold than the chocolatey brownish looking Corbanth one.
Okay.
If you look at KR Saber's Instagram page, he actually has a video of him lighting it up. I think it has a Verso soundboard in it. And it's a lighter shade of rose gold. That's the one I'm hoping he does put out, because that's the one I want. I actually just texted both of you guys. I sent it to you. The Instagram video on KR Sabers.
I'll look at it tonight.
Yeah, on KR Sabers Instagram page. But that's
Is there a price on there, Gabe? Do you know what it's going for yet?
He did not announce it yet. A lot of people are asking, you know, when is it available, how much? But
and
he's
it's
not
an empty, right? It's coming, he sells them empty or no?
The video he showed, it's fully installed. I don't know if he's going to be offering it empty or not.
I'm going to guess somewhere at, what do you think, 500 to 700 installed?
Are we talking about the Leia Saber?
The Leia, the Princess Leia Saber by KR.
Yeah, I think it would have to be $6.99 if it was NeoPixel, wouldn't it?
That's what I'm thinking. Something like that. And if
unless
it's
he
empty, I would say $350 maybe for that.
I'll check the Saber Armory, which is his. I have a Saber Armory tab up, but I want to show you guys. Rich is asking about May the 4th deals. I'm surprised I haven't seen any any threads here about May the 4th under the shop news, but there is something,
Yeah,
an
it's
update
technically
from,
only about 3 weeks away, 2.5 weeks away.
yeah, so maybe soon we'll get some emails or see something. But the latest thing that he has under here for shop news, it says another week down and the amount of out-of-stock parts is shrinking. Big focus this week has been finishing up all the blade holders that were in progress. That would mean styles 12, 17, 23, 25, and 32 on the TCSS website. Those are all expected back in stock very soon. First ops have started on multiple MPS pommel styles. They are expected to be worked throughout the next week. So I guess that happened in March at some point. Currently, MHS choke styles 1 and 3 and 7/8 inch NeoPixel hilt side adapters have been completed. That's like the latest update. There's still a lot of stuff that's that we need, you know, for TCSS to create to come back in stock. But maybe there's a limited, you know, workflow because of everything that's going on. Hopefully there's some cool stuff done by May the 4th so we can, you know, buy our parts. I didn't know that the Crystal Focus maybe had gone out of stock. Edmundo was telling me earlier that the CF, let me go here to sound and see if the Crystal Focus is in stock, because that's super important for people going. Yeah, the Crystal Focus looks like it's currently out of stock on the Custom Saber Shop website. There is, let's see if there's other options on the Saber Armory for anything. There is one cool thing I want to mention on the Saber Armory. This is basically the KR Sabers, where, you know, the KR Sabers store is called the Saber Armory. I'm thinking he'll have something going on for May the 4th too. Cal will probably be on the ball with some kind of sale or something I'm thinking of. But I think what's going on with a lot of Saber component places is, you know, when you don't find it at Custom Saber Shop, everyone went to the Saber Armory to get their, like, let's say NeoPixel emitter parts and stuff. And let me share my screen on this. Even the Saber Armory seems to be out of stock on a lot of this stuff, especially because, as you guys know, a lot of these little circuit chips and different parts for your lightsaber are made overseas or made in China. And when the outbreak hit China first, we have a lockdown that probably went to, I think, like April 7th. In China, and now they're just getting back up and running again. So as you can see here, a lot of these like PCBs and stuff that was probably printed and made overseas is delayed. The one thing I wanted to mention, though, on the Saber Armory is the thermal detonator kit, which I don't know if you guys noticed, but on the Adam Savage YouTube channel, Tested.
Saw it.
They featured the do-it-yourself prop kit for that Cal came up with for
Adam Savage
thermal
built the kit
detonator, and he really loved it, and he really felt like it's a fantastic prop. So that's really awesome. Great for Cal. Congrats to Cal for getting that exposure. That's incredible. That is like probably millions of people saw that or will see it. So that is really, really cool. That's this kit right here. I don't know if they're in stock or whatever. I suggest anybody that is interested in that type of prop, this is like the best one that you're going to be able to get. Talk about the Black Mamba earlier, that expensive lightsaber that Harris was talking about. My customer who I did the Black Mamba for actually also, you know, he has a taste for very, very nice items, highest end items. Obviously, if he's a Black Mamba customer, he has a KR Sabers thermal detonator kit as well. So yeah, as you could tell, it is a very elite kit that is just the highest quality. So I always like shopping at the Saber Armory. I'm always buying stuff like these little buttons here, slim body tactile switch, featured in Gary Bombarda's video, probably from like a year ago now, but it's a video on how to use this button here for your Graflex side button as an alternative. So if you guys look up Bombarda on YouTube, you'll want to subscribe to his channel and check out his videos on his how-tos. He's got some good tips on what to do. I also like 1.3 millimeter recharge ports. That's a great solution for having no space in your lightsaber, way better than a 2.1, especially since I don't know if this is the type that is like the high amp one, but especially the ones that are like rated for the high amp batteries that we use in our lightsabers. They're really, really excellent. So you guys need to if you're shopping at the Custom Saber shop, you could also be shopping at the Saber Armory for some alternative products. Like Harris, those little brass top buttons that we use in your Saber. That's where I got them here. They have a lot of cool Graflex. Like it seems like he got the shop up and running early on with a lot of Graflex parts, a lot of Graflex like little doodads and screws that are like proper for the Graflex. He features at the Saber Armory. And for me, I try to order a lot of things at once because they're in the UK, we're in the US.
Shipping.
So when I'm doing the shipping, like the last time I ordered, that that tubing and stuff that we were using for the crystal chambers, a lot of it came from the Saber Armory. So it's a cool place to see that stuff when the Custom Saber shop doesn't have it, or you want things that are above and beyond what the Custom Saber shop is offering. You can try the Saber Armory. That's a good place.
Yeah, there's also if you're talking that brass type tubing, a lot of smaller type mom and pop hardware stores will have a display. If you have a Hobby Lobby in your area, they'll have a lot of that brass tubing that I use in the crystal chambers. I like to source some of that stuff locally from mom and pop, and you can probably get it even cheaper than having it shipped from London, England. I think is where he is.
This
London,
was something,
England.
that, Harris, you brought over this little device. Here's like the type of tube that we would be cutting, right? And you brought over this little device, which is a little mini pipe cutter, which I had never seen before. So that's why I'm kind of showing it. If I had never seen it before, maybe a lot of other people had not seen this type of thing before. You know, normally I'm used to using a big old pipe cutter for like a normal size pipe, and I would cut these tubes a different way. But look at this, like this is available, a little tiny pipe cutter that
came from Lowe's, I believe, either Lowe's or Home Depot.
That's really cool. That's something I didn't know existed, but that's a big help when we're talking about creating a crystal chamber and you want to make these precise cuts. That's nice.
Nice and straight.
Nice and even cut.
Yeah, nice clean cut, nice and straight. And they look great putting them in the crystal chambers.
Oh, Melissa says, I was able to translate the saying, and it translates to "excuse me, Watto." So chut chut Watto. Chut chut, I guess, is excuse me. Okay,
right,
another
guys.
one for you guys. After 4 years in the hobby, what's the one special tool that you can't live without? Like an auto wire stripper, etc. Harris, what do you got in that regard? What do you like as far as a tool?
My drill press.
That's an important
one. My drill press, absolutely. And I'm still learning how to use it. It's not an easy tool to use to do right. I'm a stickler for, if you want something lined up, you want it in a nice clean line. You want underneath. It's not easy to get those lines. You got to be very careful in what you're doing. But I do love it. I don't know if you can see it back there. There it is. That's my baby. It was around $100. I got it from Harbor Freight, and I've had it about 3-4 years now. I use it for a lot of stuff, and it's great. I love it. I love my drill press. How about you, Ant? What do you think?
You know what I think is super important? Go ahead.
What's that?
You said that.
Go ahead. I'm gonna tell you one more, but I want to see what you think.
Maybe you could, since mine are out of reach, maybe you could grab a couple hand files, because hand files, to me, are
I'm sitting here at my desk.
Important thing for creating shrouds or any type of custom metalworking that have to do with your lightsaber. And that's my favorite part of like lightsaber making, is actually conforming the metal and forming the metal to how you want.
I'm sitting here at my computer desk, okay? And look at my computer desk. Look what I have on my desk.
Hand files, right? Very important.
Hand files.
Isn't that how you get all your metal working and shroud working to like really look smooth and professional?
That gives you the fine detail. I'm going to tell you the other tool that I can't live without. The Dremel.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's
Dremel's a big
mucho importante for sure. All the different attachments that you can put on there is pretty cool, but the cutting wheel is the most important, I would say, for the.
I don't know if you can see it. A good soldering iron, a good power tester so you can test LEDs. One thing that you have that I think is you can't put a price on the way you built it there, Ant. For those that don't know, Anthony has a Prism soundboard that he put into a hobby box. So it's basically a little 3-inch box by 2-inch, and basically it's a SABER board built in a box. I don't know if you can show them. Yep, there it is. And we use that almost exclusively, and we use that to test every blade that we build, don't we, Ant? And we don't test it once. We test it about 1,000 times. As every little component is added, we test.
Yeah, so I never use this for like actual sounds like that, but we use it to attach the blades to these plugs here to test the blade, and then I could, like test the blaster blocking. I've got a little speaker poking out the top there, and I've been thinking about actually adding some, Harris and Gabe, those like the way that the NeoPixel strips come with those special
the ends on it,
with the ends the way they come. I was thinking about,
so you can plug them in.
Yeah, just having that connector out of that way when the strip comes, we can just test it right away.
Not a bad idea.
Like waiting to build the blade a little bit.
Put it together. Not a bad. Great idea, Ant. Great idea. If you can find, I don't know if it's the male or the female counterpart of that, but or if I'm not mistaken, don't the LED strips, the pixel strips, come with a male or a female at one end and the other end?
Yeah, like that's kind of what I mean. I want to take like the opposite end of that, attach it to this little box, and that way we could always like just quickly test the strip like right out of the baggie that it comes in.
Great idea. Great idea.
ST says, for me, it has to be the Dremel. When I weather my hilts and make shrouds, that thing can do anything. Yeah, it's really easy to fall in love with the Dremel because you can get like a lot done quickly. But the nice thing is with your hand files and your sandpaper, you really can finish it out. You could really finish it out, whatever piece it is, like smoothly, really nicely.
This is something I got from you, Ant. Basically, I don't know if you guys can see. I drilled holes in my wall, in my stud here. And there's all my Dremel apparatus.
Oh, yeah.
And you go a little later, and there's my Dremel hanging on the wall. It's right here. I have a nice, powerful light, so I can direct the light to where I need to go. There's my drill press. A grinder is a big help. A good solder station. And I'm kind of a messy mad scientist, but that's my workbench. This is where I build sabers, and I've been doing it for years.
You should have seen when I used to have like before I built the spaceship here, and I had this setup that looked exactly like yours. Yours looks clean to the state that I would have this pile of when I was done with the Saber build, I used to have my friend Dan over. He's Revan Reborn on FX Sabers, and he was probably one of my first like Saber friends that I met in person off the FX Saber forums. He came over. He lived in like North Jersey or something like that. He came over. He drove down about an hour or 2 hours. He would help me build the lightsabers years ago. And when we were done with the lightsaber, we were so intensely focused, 2 people at once, just on the hilt production and completion that by the time we picked up the finished thing, might be 7 in the morning after a really long night, or it might be after 2 days of working on it. The desk, you guys would have laughed. It was like metal shards stacked with like all these. It was almost like a cartoon where there was like springs like poking out and just like garbage.
Yeah. I got a metal patch underneath my drill press that, I mean, it looks like sand, but it's metal. It's a mess. I won't show it, but it's like sand, only it's silver. It looks,
Yeah.
That's what's underneath my drill press, basically.
I know exactly what you
know?
mean.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
All right, guys, I got to get out of here, but I'm going to let you guys know the tool that I can't live without. It goes everywhere with me.
There
Right
you go.
The only tool I
Love
need.
it. Love it.
And you do use it like a tool because it is like always part. It's part of you, right?
Nervous when
Yep.
it's easy.
It's like
It's always on your belt.
it's always on my belt. Only tool I need.
What blade are you using there? That's a trans white, huh?
The trans white, yeah.
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 All right, Gabe. Well, thanks for doing the show tonight. We will come back online and do it again, maybe in a couple of days. How's that sound?
Yeah, I'm down. I mean, you guys don't have to end
Yeah.
the show on my account. I have something I have to do, but definitely we'll link up again in a couple of days and do another Saber
Nice.
Yeah,
talk.
we'll hook up.
Awesome.
It's
Yeah, we'll
fun.
probably go for a
We
couple more
can't-
minutes and
Yeah.
answer a couple more
So
questions.
I want to say a couple things real quick before Gabe splits. You know, right now we're in this crazy time, and I'm talking about the COVID-19 virus. It's crazy. It's everywhere. This is the reason that we're doing this separate. We're doing this all from our homes. And Aunt and I are used to spending 2 to 3 days a week together building sabers anymore.
Yeah.
But I want to throw a shout out to our buddy Jacob from the New Jersey chapter of the Saber Legion. He's fighting a fight right now. He's fighting the COVID, and best of luck to him. We wish him the best of luck. Can't wait to see him back out at another Saber event. And you stay strong and get healthy, brother.
Stay strong, Jacob. And Harris and I met Jacob and his wife earlier in 2019. They're really awesome people. I hope I hope Jacob can get healthier and get back to being 100%. He's a really, really awesome dude. He couldn't have been nicer to us, Harris, when we were at
I'm going to tell you what kind of guy he is. You know, we're Facebook friends, and he posted today that the biggest thing that he misses about having this virus is snuggling with his wife.
Oh, man.
And, you know, you got to commend a guy like that. Good dude. Stay strong, brother.
Crazy.
We're
He's
pulling
awesome.
for you.
Definitely.
For
Definitely.
sure. Get better soon, Jacob.
Yeah, man. So,
All right,
and
fellas.
hopefully we can get together again soon, guys.
Yeah.
You know?
We'll
Definitely.
link
Get
up
together
in the
again
next couple
soon.
of days.
I miss my boys.
Later.
All right, Gabe, later. Have a good night.
Peace.
All right, so let's see
And
here.
then there were two.
I think there might be another question here.
Okay.
Looks like the cross between a Graflex and an Obi-Wan Episode 1. I don't know where we're at that point when he made that comment. The gray colors, Melissa says the gray colors remind me of the Graflex, and I'm already, we must be talking about the Flame at that point. We were really, we're still really excited to get the Flame in our hands because we want to put the Crystal Focus 10 in it. I think that would be, and obviously NeoPixel, and Harris wants to do something crazy with the chamber. Jake Soft says
Light
it's
it up.
crazy the vast skill set required to take a Saber from concept to working prop. As a software guy, these machinists always impress me. Yeah, it's like
Wow.
there's so much involved, and the fun part for me is the like the machining side of it, and like the hilt design and kind of doing it by hand, and then the electronics part of it was at first the daunting part for me because that wasn't under my wheelhouse. So I had to totally like take on electronics and learn about electronics and stuff like that. It didn't come naturally to me. The part that came more naturally was like the 3D art part of the, the making of, or the forming of the aluminum and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, and you're an amazing artist, bro.
Oh,
And
thanks, bro.
I mean, the stuff that you draw just blows my mind. I mean, so when you lay down a concept, I mean, I've seen my drawings look like we're playing Hangman, you know. And I mean, one thing I love with you, I love that little mirrored corner, and you take the markers and you design on the mirrors.
Yeah.
And I love that.
I love
that.
drawing on the mirrors. I've always had fun with
So
like
cool.
whiteboards, chalkboards, and
So cool.
those like whiteboard markers work on mirrors. And now that they have those newer markers that you saw here the other day, they're like white or they're pink or whatever. They really show up on the mirror, so we can quickly
really
draw out our
pop.
idea. And the funny part is, it's like right near where I sit you when you come over. So when we're designing a certain hilt design, then you could kind of just look off to the right and be like, oh, that's where the button goes.
It's right there over my head.
Oh yeah, so HexX Saber says Cal made his own Princess Leia type of saber. Yeah, I didn't know
Nice.
if Corbanth was selling his version or Cal's version or whatever. That's really interesting. I like the way they look for sure. Melissa
Beautiful.
says
It's a beautiful hilt.
she is a member of the Rebel Armory.
You know what I like about the saber, the Leia saber? One thing I like the grips on that center mass of the body. Kind of like in my head, I see the way the grip has like a curvature to it.
I like that.
It reminds me, you know what it reminds me of? If you ever look at an aerial view of the memorial over top of the USS Arizona in Hawaii at Pearl Harbor, it's got those grips have that shape of the same of that white memorial. It sits over top of the Arizona, the battleship Arizona. I don't know if you've seen that, but I think it reminds me of that. I think that's beautiful, that art curvature. It's got two perfect little holes in it where the screws screw into it. I really like that.
Mundo is here. What's going on, Mundo? Thanks for joining us.
What's up, bro?
Oh, going to make Rich is saying he's going to make a Cade Skywalker MHS hilt. What should I use for the bunny ears? Now, what I did when I made my Cade Skywalker hilt, I used a hunk of metal, I think is what I did for the bunny ears. What did I do for the bunny ears on that one? I'll have to go back and look at the video, but if you check out my channel, I did do a Cade Skywalker hilt basically based off MHS parts. There was MHS parts underneath a shroud, and the shroud ran the entire length of the hilt to get that like sleek look. I also put like the Graflex cut to the emitter, and you could see the MHS emitter piece poking out of the of where that extra long shroud was. Like the shroud just ran the length of the thing. I think I used. Oh, you know what it was on that? Did I even have bunny ears? No, I didn't put bunny ears on that. You know what I did? I put like almost like a kill key that was towards the top that looked like a bunny ears when the kill key was in. But what I like to do for bunny ears now when I'm creating my own is the first thing I'll do is see if Custom Saber Shop bunny ears will work for my project, or if I could sand them down or shape them to fit what I'm doing. Right, Harris, there was a project that we're working on. We're going to use like 2 Custom Saber Shop bunny ears. We're going to slice off part of the bunny ear and use them in a certain way. So that's like the first thing you could try, because it's nice that those have the screw holes that work for a lightsaber. You can kind of already do it. The second thing I do is I will go through these little drawers I keep, which is like I call like possible saber greeblies. Harris has seen these little drawers of like little metal parts and things that I've saved. I see if anything in there can work as a bunny ear, or if something I can modify in that drawer. And then if that doesn't work, I have a piece of pipe that's an aluminum pipe that's very thick. Harris, I don't know if you worked with that yet or if you just saw it, but it's a very thick aluminum pipe that's like a 1/2 inch thick. And I will take
I have some
piece
steel
of that.
Here, actually very thick.
Steel I don't like to work with because it's so hard to sand
so
and
hard
stuff.
to shape.
Yeah, I've
Very,
worked
very
with
hard.
steel a couple times. It's such a pain, especially when we talk about a thicker steel. Oh, it's such a pain. Such a pain.
Yeah.
But yeah, those
There
are a
you go.
couple options for like bunny ears. You could use like scrap metal. Rich says LS6 worst hilt ever.
Worst though?
Worst hilt ever. I guess
Why is that?
well, we were talking before about it's very hard to install into, but I think he must have had it. I think I've heard people that have had it that said sometimes the tolerances on it aren't perfect, so those little gull wing doors might not line up. I heard stuff
Yeah.
like that about it. That might be what he's referring to. I never actually held one of those in my hand, but they look cool. But other than the fact that it's a pain, it's a PETA to put anything, to work it out the electronic wise. But then to have some like tolerance issues, I think might be a turn off.
Every kid has some kind of a thing that you gotta make parts work together. There's no such thing, like even getting something like a Black Mamba. I'm sure you had to customize a few things for that too.
That actually
Wiring,
came
make
with
wiring go through.
well, like the wiring was the biggest challenge there to figure out how that had to go. Tim McAndrews here. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, Tim?
Hey guys, I was never a fan of the Corbanth LS6. Those damn gull wings. So, yeah, so he must know exactly that, which is like they don't line up all the time. I heard,
mean,
or like Rich says, it's too tight in there. Maybe it's just difficult.
There's different sabers for different things. Like if I want to fight in the TSL, I'm not using a LS6 Gullwing saber. I mean, I'm making something solid, and but if I want a Luke Skywalker saber sitting on my shelf, or I want to polish it and hold it in my hand while I'm watching Return of the Jedi, then it's a good piece. That's the way I look at it. You know what I mean? You're not going to build a race car to drive to work every day, and you're not going to build a car if you want to go to work like a race car. So everything's different. Everything has its purpose. And there's no such thing as that one everything saber, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I've built sabers that were shelf queens. Christ, I mean, the saber we built for your buddy Steve has 14 karat gold parts in it. I mean, that's not something I would duel with. I'm not taking that to the Saber Legion.
I guess it all depends what the person wants to do with it. Like sometimes if they feel like they can replace it, or they won't damage it, then it's fine. It's just totally up to the owner. That's like the fun of it. Andrea Tomasini, hi guys, love this show. I've been following you during the last 3 years. I'm not even a hardcore Saber guy, but you're a pleasure to listen to. Thanks so much.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. Very nice.
He's in Rome. It's 4 a.m. and he's hooked onto this
Wow.
live. Well, thank you,
awesome.
buddy.
Thank you, brother.
That's awesome.
That's cool. I hope you can understand us.
Raj H says, tips to condense electronics into the hilt. Yeah, it's there's probably a lot of tips we could talk about. Let me think here. Like one thing is
2 words. Ant.
No, you're not going to say cram foo, are you? No. I knew you were going to go there. But
cram foo, babe. Cram foo.
It's kind of, we all kind of start out with cram foo, but it all ends up in a way being spaghetti. So I wouldn't be proud of cram foo. It's like a necessary evil in these.
It is a necessary
hilts.
Evil, and I don't want to put out a hilt that somebody looks into and says, "My God, is that a bird's nest?"
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. And I mean, I know I've rebuilt multiple hilts like that. I'm sure you have too. One of my tips that I'm going to give you is, I don't know if you ever watch, I think it was the show American Chopper, where I forget the guy's name.
There was like a father and son.
Father and son, and then there was the son's best friend. And one of the things that the son's best friend did was he would build these wiring harnesses for all these custom choppers and motorcycles. And one of the things that I liked on the show was how they stored the wire. And one of the things I learned from watching that show, when you're dealing with wire, less is not best. oversized. Don't worry about that little wire. You'll cut your wire. I mean, I got strap wire here, and that's just what I just pulled out of a drawer. You know, you need a piece of strap, that's great. But when you're making the main wiring harness, make it long enough and then cut it back. And don't overcut. Cut short. Cut not short, cut long so that you can cut more. It's easy to take off. You can't add. So I'll show you. It's behind me here. I don't know if you can see it right behind my head right there. But that's my little wiring harness that I built. I hung it from the ceiling, and all my wire hangs from there. And
Easy
that's what I
access.
pull my lengths. Yeah, I just pull my lengths. And that's something that I saw them do on American Chopper. And I really liked the way that they did that. And he, you know, when you're building what I call the NeoPixel pod, so to speak, when you're bringing those wires from your NeoPixel Pogo adapter down to the board, and your board's, you know, if your board's 7 inches underneath that, don't cut it 7 inches, man. Cut it 10 inches, 11 inches. You can always trim back. The wire doesn't go bad. You can keep it, put it aside, and you can use it for small pieces. There's plenty of times that, you know, Ant, you and I make little jumper pieces or Y adapters where we bring 2 into 1 into a soldering point, you know.
That's a
And,
good point. Like for the
you know,
buttons, like let's say you have the aux button and the main button. One great tip for having less wires in the hilt in the first place is when you can try to condense the wires of those buttons by, instead of housing 4 buttons all the way down to your board, meaning button number 1, 2 wires, button number 2, 2 wires, and having 4 wires, take your grounds, which would be 1 wire per button, wire them together as close to the buttons as you can, and come down to the board with only 3 wires.
that's
Do
one
that
less
like
wire that
wherever
you have
you
to worry
can.
about.
Right, so if you're doing like accent LEDs, you have 3 or 4 accent LEDs. Try to wire your grounds for your accent LEDs together, and then bring your positives down to, like, let's say your accent pads 1, 2, 3, 4. So that you only have 5 wires coming down, rather than, let's say you have 4 accent LEDs, rather than having 8 wires and trying to connect all that down at the board side. What I always try to give Harris the tip is, when you actually make your way to the board, to wire everything to the board, like Harris mentioned, the wiring harness. So you have your wiring harness, which is coming from all your hardware components and going to your board. You want to have as less wires as you can attached to the board. So I think it was one tip I gave Steve when he was here one day too, which is, try to hit the board with as least amount as you can. So let's say you have a wire. You don't want to double up on a pad if you don't have to. You don't want to, double up on both sides. If you can just attach 1 wire and have the things link up down the line somewhere closer to the components, that's like the best way to do it.
Save so much space.
And then the
Save so much
final
space.
tip I could give you is the chassis deal, which is like when you do have a chassis working in your Saber, something that acts like a chassis, and the board can sit in there and all the wires can feed through something very nicely to actually point and aim at the board in this, this is getting advanced now, what I speak of here, which is to have the wire ends aimed properly, meaning very neatly lying on the board. When you do to go solder it, it lays
Nice and flat.
Yeah, in a way that won't get tangled up later, and
Lays
like
in the
Harris said
grooves.
earlier, has the least amount of slack necessary.
So something I want to show you guys, when we built this, it starts up here, right about here. This is the blade retention. So right under here is that little black plastic thing that holds your NeoPixel Pogos. I'll show you in here. I painted this. Some of the paint's coming off. Tried it, didn't work great, but they're your Pogo connectors. So basically what happens is those wires come from here and run down. And basically I don't know if you can see this, but there's a crystal chamber in here. And all of these wires that are coming from up here are running down and back behind this crystal, down past the battery here. And there's about a 2-inch section here, and that holds my board, my speaker, and all my wiring is in this little section. All I need to get to it is to remove this 8/32 brass thumb screw. This piece comes off, this pommel comes off, and my board sits. My board is actually tucked in right here between the lower parts of this LED and my cover tech wheel. The board sits level right in there, just kind of holds it in. And then right here is the speaker, and this thing has more volume than almost any Saber that I've ever built, even though I only have about 2-inch of speaker, what's the word I'm thinking of, Ant? Ambience enhancement. What's the word?
You made
Can't
me
think of the
forget. You made me forget.
Yeah, some pros we are, right? I can't think of what they call it.
The sound chamber, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, this sound chamber. Yeah, the speaker sound chamber in there, you know. And the speaker that's in here is sealed, like I was saying earlier. It's sealed tight right in there, so you get sound out of here, but also you get sound that pushes back off of everything internal in here. It pushes off
and maybe
the battery.
comes out of the that chamber there.
Comes out of this chamber beautiful, where if you put your hand up here, you'll feel the vibration. It feels like the crystal's alive. Definitely.
Yeah.
So less is best. Remember that.
And
Cut
I think
long,
there was
back.
one thing that you were when you were saying how you ran the wires from the emitter down to the board part of the hilt. The one tip that I can give there is, and I've told you this before, I think it's helped us, which is to lay those wires like you might think. It might sound logical to put them in a bundle and then to wrap them in some kind of bundle, but the best thing to do is to have like the 3 wires from your NeoPixel flat. And when you put your heat shrink around your wires along, what we do is put it along the way every inch or so, a little tiny piece of heat shrink. What we do is when we heat it up to disallow it from bunching up into a bundle, while it's still hot, press it with your fingers to make it flat and the wires flat the whole way through, so that your positive is on one end, your negative is on the other end, and your data is in the center. And so nothing is crossing over, touching
nice
each
and
other.
flat.
Everything's nice and flat, and that way it'll give you more room in this. So that's
And
a really
also,
long answer to that simple question,
let
but
me
I think there's some tips.
Let me
in
throw
there.
this out also, Ant. Inside here is an 18650. One of these rests right in here, right about there. And what was nice about this, you know, the diameter here versus, I'm trying to get this on camera, versus the battery here, I didn't use anything to hold that battery in place. That battery is held in place by my wires from my Pixel pod and my switch wires. I used micro tack switches on the front here, and they're hidden when you close this shroud up. They're underneath, they're inside the Saber. So they're very tiny and almost invisible is what I like to think. But those wires running through the back of that chamber are allowing the battery to just friction hold in place. And I spin this like a madman, and I don't feel that battery move at all. It's held nice and tight. So I'm also eliminating some wrap around the battery to hold it in place, or a battery holder, and I'm using the wire to suck up the extra room on the side of the battery. So I really had to push that battery in there, and there's nothing else but the battery.
That was part of
and
my
the wires
plan when we laid that out, actually, because I knew that that center part was going to be like the perfect diameter, just enough for those wires, and not enough if we bunched them. But the idea to not bunch them doesn't come from to save you space exactly. It comes from different reasons regarding the electronics of the NeoPixel signal. The data signal coming down, we don't want to get interfered with by crossing over and bunching the wires. But a nice side effect of that is a space saver. Melissa's World says,
Huge.
nice device. That device attached to blades too is kind of cool. And
She's
thank
talking
you.
about your tester,
Yeah, my little
your box
tester.
I
Jake
love
said,
it.
what's under the hood of that blade tester? That's just an old Prism, like 5.1. It's pretty easy to get to, though,
Just
because
a
as you
metal
can see,
box.
it's just an enclosure, so I can just take off those screws and let's say put like a Profi in there or like whatever I want.
That
If I want,
box,
but the motion detection, smooth swing, it doesn't, all that stuff doesn't matter. The nice thing, if I were to change
it's all
the
about
thing
testing.
to put the Profi or something like that, the nice thing about doing that would be, yeah, I could see the blade effects and actually test the blade that way. But the steady color of that style, just a static blade, is pretty proper for a test, because as I go through the colors, I'm able to see if any of the R, G, or B diodes is out on any of the NeoPixel LEDs in there. Like, let's say I tune it to red, but one of the LEDs is not red. I know that something might be going wrong there, and I have to like do something about it.
You can cut it out and bring the strip back together.
Yeah,
Or I
yeah.
should say,
Sometimes
like,
you have to alter
that.
the blade section if you're like, if something's going wrong there. Let's see here. Oh, thanks, Melissa's World's talking about Jacob.
also
May the
wanna-
force be with him. For sure.
I want to say real quick too, your little tester. I want to let everybody know that's interested in that. That's about the size of a pack of cigarettes, basically. It's about the size of a box of Marlboro cigarettes.
And that's got like a little 18650 in there, so it's just like when I found a battery that I think it was a battery that I wasn't going to use in someone's new build for whatever reason. I just decided to use it in the tester, and like I said, it's pretty easy to get to, so it's like,
yeah, and I believe it has a 1.3 charge port on it. The 1.3.
Yeah, that's
tiny one of the tiny high power 1.3 ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is Cade Skywalker? Says Melissa's World. Cade Skywalker is the great grandson of Luke Skywalker. So you have Luke Skywalker. He has, in the expanded universe, he has a son named Ben Skywalker, and it makes a lot more sense than in the prequel movies or in the sequel movies we just got, because Luke would name his son Ben, if you think about it, because Luke had the connection with Ben Kenobi. That's how he first knew Obi-Wan. That's how he thought of Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan changed his life. Obi-Wan opened his eyes to the Force and to everything else, and took him away from his old life, brought him into this totally new world. As he told him, it opened his eyes to the new world. So he has a son, Ben Skywalker. Ben Skywalker has a son named Cole Skywalker, Kol, and Cole Skywalker has a son named Cade Skywalker. I think I have that lineage right. And Cade Skywalker this is about 150 years after A New Hope movie, let's say, and Luke is dead. Okay, so Luke's been dead for like a number of years. All those other Skywalkers that I mentioned are dead except for Cade Skywalker. Cade Skywalker saw his father Cole Skywalker die, basically in a first issue of the Star Wars Legacy, I think is what it's called, Star Wars Legacy comic series, which is all about Cade Skywalker. It's really awesome art by Jan Duursema, and the story takes you through Cade's life as a smuggler / drug user, kind of like he's doing like death sticks and certain type of drugs, and he's trying to suppress the fact that he is basically like denying the fact that he is a Skywalker, that he's like Jedi lineage, and he's living the life of kind of like this gangster sort of. But this threat arises in the galaxy, and it's a threat from the age of Star Wars that we know of. So it's a character that you may be familiar with from like the Luke Skywalker era, but has turned into this 150 years later, has like became reborn as a threat to the galaxy, and that's Darth Krayt. So Darth Krayt, who's inside this really ugly like bone suit, is this guy from like the Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan style era of Star Wars that you might recognize, and he is basically forces Kate Skywalker out of his hiding, out of his shell, and he has to become a Jedi to defeat this galaxy-wide threat of the one Sith, which is like Darth Krayt gathering, instead of the rule of two, like Palpatine and Vader, the Emperor and Vader, instead of the rule of two that Darth Bane set up 1,000 years before. This is like one of the first times that the Sith is breaking from that, and Darth Krayt believes that he's going to go back to the old way of having like as many Sith as he can get, basically. So he's got like, at the time of the story, he's probably got like 30 of them, and he's got the whole group of them that are just, he's got a way to terrorize people with all these Sith, and so Cade Skywalker has to stop them. Cade Skywalker's lightsaber, similar to like what the Skywalker lightsabers always were, which is like a Graflex looking lightsaber, became a sort of a sleek looking Graflex. So I will show you real quick. I will show you now that we're talking about Cade Skywalker, because this is like one of my favorite characters in the EU. He didn't start out that way because I thought he was kind of like a D-bag. To be quite honest, he acts like a D-bag a lot of the time, but then like he kind of becomes a favorite. Okay, here's a good picture of him kind of going evil, but it shows this isn't quite how I made the saber, but I'll show you this image anyway, and I'll show you my version of it. So this is Cade Skywalker. This is him kind of becoming evil. He kind of goes like along with the dark side a little bit sometimes, and he's got a lightsaber. It's green. It's a green crystal, and it is, Harris, it looks like your nephew's Ultra Sabers. Do I have it right? Like, remember that saber you brought over the one time? It's like Ultra Saber's got a saber that kind of looks like this, but I made
the prophecy, I think it was called.
Let me see if I do a search for it, will my video come up? Oh yeah, here's my photo. Okay, so this one here is I don't know if you guys can see my cursor. Can you guys see my cursor? This was my Cade Skywalker version. Isn't that picture so? Oh yeah, here's the let me bring you guys the FX Sabers site. The FX Sabers site has my Cade Skywalker post. So this is my version of the Cade Skywalker. It looks pretty similar, right, to the comic book. I sold this to a buddy on FX Sabers a few years ago. But this was my rendition of it, where like I just put this shroud material over the entire MHS lightsaber hilt, and then polished that shroud like a lot, like as much as I could. Let's see here. I polished the hell out of this thing. How do I move this? Yeah, so I put in some like Graflex style lines here, Harris. This was probably the first time I ever did that. I had some lighted buttons. I had a little cutout for the 2.1 recharge port, and that's kind of what I came up with for my Cade Skywalker. Just a very sleek, like Graflex looking thing.
Nice.
Creepy Uncle is a beautiful LS hero hilt. Luke Skywalker hero hilt. Melissa says she's a member of the Saber Legion, the Floridian branch, one on Facebook. Oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. That's the same thing that Jacob's a part of. We did a Saber Talk special where we did a special edition at New Jersey Saber Legion up in Edison over here. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, like she alerted them to her disability, and they understand. Yeah, the Saber Legion people we met were just like the best people. I'm sure they're like that in all the regions. Of course, like whenever I meet somebody and they're like that much of a Star Wars fan, they automatically get like they're automatically a friend, I think, you know.
Fun stuff.
Oh, this is cool. Melissa joined a stream where the Saber Legion did a little bit of a saber exercises. It was pretty fun. Oh, that's a cool idea, right? To do almost like
Great idea.
a little like aerobic thing. Saber in a box. Yeah, that's kind of what I call my little saber tester here. Jakesoff says he would call this saber in a box. I think that's a good name for it. I think I've told you that, Harris, before, that this is like I don't know if I use those exact words, but it's like that's basically what it is for sure.
Love that little thing. Saves us so much time and energy, you know. I mean, imagine building the whole hilt and you put the blade together and next thing you know, the blade's not working, and you know, that's pain, man. It's time consuming. Saves us a lot of time and a lot of headache.
Especially because of all the layers of diffusion that I put on the strips, because I use like the little skinny strips where they're like only like 7 or 8 millimeters wide instead of like the 10 or 12 millimeters that the other bigger strips. Like you can't add all the heat shrink that I do if you're using the thick strips, but since I'm using the thin ones, the skinny ones from Adafruit, I can put like 3-4 layers of I have 3 layers on one side, 4 layers on the other side. For I call it 4 layers, but in reality it's like one has a layer, then the other one gets sandwiched and then wrapped and then wrapped and then wrapped. So it's like one side has 4, one side has 3, but basically so many layers of the heat shrink that I have to test at every single layer that I'm putting on, or else it's a lot of cutting with an X-Acto. You risk damaging the blade if you have to take off that carefully applied heat shrink that you put on, be a total PETA. So you have to have a way to test like every, as you saw when you were here, well, we were testing like every 10 minutes, every step of the way. When I had you heat shrink a section, we would test it. It's very easy when you have a setup like that to just hold it up to it and test it. And you kind of have to do that. It especially helps with these tri-stars that I've been making. You know, like I have a couple on the bench right here. Like one is from Mark. It's almost done. And one is from my friend in Japan. But the tri-star like needs to be tested every step of the way, because there's just, you know, so many LEDs there. You don't want to have something not work on one of the 3 sides, and that would be such a pain to try to get to later.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the saber in a box is a lot easier, you know, and I didn't care too much about being spaghetti in there, but when I opened it up the other day to make a change, I was like, oh, it's actually pretty neat in here. It wasn't spaghetti. I was like, oh, I guess I did a good job in this one.
Nice.
Even though it was just a tester, I didn't care. Yeah, even though it's small. And I bought a few of them boxes, different, because I have some ideas for like gauntlets, where I bought these like leather gauntlets off of like Etsy, and I'm going to attach those boxes onto the gauntlets with electronics in them, with little screens on them, and like to look like, you remember Lando had the thing and he would like call Lobot with his arm electronics. Yeah, I want to on the other gauntlet, I want to attach a box that is like a saber powered thing where when I could hold a little, like, you know how Kanan Jarrus, the Jedi from Rebels, had different parts of his lightsaber on his belt that he would attach together and become his lightsaber, is kind of for being incognito. I think on one of these gauntlets, I want to put one of these boxes with a saber battery and like a CF10 in it, let's say, 3 wires coming off. That could be the NeoPixel outs, right? And then a little tiny canister that I could hold, just something that would be small, little emitter that could have the blade in it, and the power would come from the gauntlet, right? And it would just be connected with 3 little wires, maybe a little like almost like a telephone spiral wire or something like that. That's one of my plans. I think that would be really cool to have, like almost like an Old Republic style secret lightsaber that's very small that just attaches to the gauntlet. They both need to be there to work together. Mundo says, hey, how long does it take to polish the metal the way you want? sometimes like a whole
The more
day.
you work on it, the brighter
Yeah.
it gets.
Because I use the different grits too, so I might try like a certain grit, and then I try the higher grit, and then I eventually found the 4,000 grit sheet that I use on all my finishing. The 4,000 grit I think makes things look like glass, like very nice. 3,000 is
shiny.
excellent, but then 4,000 really is like the finisher.
I have
So that's why I
2,000.
could
This is
take
2,000 right here.
yeah, like I'll do, you know, like whatever I need to do to adjust the metal, and then I'll go to like 1,200 and then 2,000 and then 3,000, and then I finish with the 4,000.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, Melissa says there was a disease in Legends called Quinot syndrome. I don't remember reading about that in any of the books. I wonder if it had to do with the Yuzong Vong. And it doesn't sound like a Yuzong Vong thing, but in the New Jedi Order there was like this group of people called the Yuzong Vong, and they were aliens. They were awful, and they kind of came in from another galaxy, and all their stuff was different. And I wouldn't doubt if they had some kind of disease or something that came with them, because they were awful people. All right, guys. Well, if there's no more questions, I'll give you like one other minute to, if you have a question about any lightsaber stuff, we'll be happy to answer. But otherwise, probably going to call it a night, and we will do this again soon. I'm glad that a lot of you came in here with saber questions. That was a lot of fun. I know Harris has a lot of fun helping people. Like one of Harris's favorite things, if you live near Harris, he would drive over to your, I mean, if we weren't going through this this problem right now, he would drive over to your house and help you with your lightsaber for nothing. That's how much Harris loves helping people with their lightsaber.
Absolutely.
So to do a show like this, I know that
how
he
Gabe
had
and
a
I
great
became
time
friends.
Yeah.
It's how I met you, bro.
Yeah.
You know,
like what
it's how we all
Gabe
met.
was coming over. You were helping Gabe with his building both
Way
of your
back.
sabers at this. You built almost identical looking sabers.
Yeah,
but they had different
I built
paint
his,
schemes.
and yeah, I built his. I showed his off. His was like a blue and a silver, and somebody saw it and said, "Hey, can you do the same thing but in green?" And I did that for him. That was a private commission. But they were a lot of fun to build. And Gabe actually, we met on one of the, I think it was on Facebook, one of the Saber forums, or might have even been on FX. I forget. It's been so long yet. But Gabe and I started talking, and he was living with his mother at the time. He was working in Trenton, and he was living at his mom's house. And it turned out, we found out that his mom lived a block away from me, and we got friendly. And he came over, and we started hanging, and look at us now.
The rest is history.
It's got to be, the rest is history, man. We're like one big family, you know. I love doing this with you guys, man. I look forward to it. You know that, Ed.
Oh, thanks, Rich. Rich is happy, so this stuff is great. We'll be happy to help you next time. If you have any questions, you guys can think of them.
Any questions, man? We're always happy to help.
Mark, you too, buddy. Stay healthy. Stay healthy, everybody. Stay inside if you can. If you have one of the jobs where you have to go out there, try to be as safe as possible. This is like impossible to tell because this whole thing is invisible, like, you know, where it is, like how to fight it, et cetera, et cetera. But use your best common sense and listen to the current advice, what they're giving, you know, on these experts and stuff like that, giving the advice. I kind of always thought from the very start that people should have the masks if they thought they were great for the health professionals. So now they're starting to say that. They're starting to say, you know, everyone should get on board with the mask. So I guess that's going to be our new reality. One of the, you know, I want to make a meme. I'm going to make a meme tonight or something where it's going to be like a face mask, and it's going to say, it's going to be somebody in a face mask, and the meme should say something like, you know, I feel sorry if you have like a nose and mouth fetish. Because it's like you're never going to see any more noses and mouths from anybody in person anymore. Their face is going to be covered. So if you have a fetish for like tips of chins and...
I go to work every day. I wear a mask every day, all day.
Yeah, see that?
One today for
or if you're like
if
you're hard of hearing and you're
gloves.
reading lips, it's like these are small.
Well, you
small
know,
little things.
You know,
small little.
My hearing's not great. You
Small
know,
complaints.
I got bad hearing, and it's very hard for me talking to people because I do kind of read lips a little bit.
That's what I.
And
That's
and
kind of what I'm talking about. I know you're hard of hearing. You know,
hard.
sometimes
Yeah.
it's like you're looking
Yeah.
at the person's mouth, and it's going to be just one of the little tiny compromises that we're going to have to go through
Yep.
over the next year or so to try to get through this. And once we do,
Yep.
meet up with people at stores and at the bank and stuff. It's even I've already experienced it at the bank where I see the people inside the bank and they have the even though I did the drive-through, they have the masks on in there, and
Yep.
you didn't realize before that everyone was kind of reading lips a little bit. You almost didn't realize that when the person's through the glass and you're going through the drive-through, and you are almost reading their lips and you don't even know it, and then now that they're going to have the mask on, you're going to realize that in certain situations you were looking, like when you're buying tickets or something, and you weren't quite sure what they said, but you could see how they said it. Now that's changing a little bit.
Yeah. A lot of different things in the world today.
Get a Vader style mask. This is what I was thinking. I was actually on Amazon today looking at like light up masks and different things that could like be comparable to like a healthy like face mask, just to be funny or something. And I got one that was like $15. So like when it comes, I will wear it. I think it's supposed to light up when I talk. So when I talk, it should like light up a little bit in the front, and we'll see if that works. We'll see
Knowing
if that
you,
muffles anything.
you're gonna gut it and turn it into
Yeah, we'll turn it into something. I saw one that had like NeoPixels all over it, but it was $150, and I was like, I could make that. I don't need to buy that from them, but I wanted
we'll
just a
build it for a
dinky
third
little
price.
one. Yeah, I wanted something just dinky that I could have fun with. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. It was a lot of fun talking to you all.
Let's do another Saber light.
Let me see if I can get Ray to say something. I liked some of these comments on this font. I should have asked Gabe which font this was before he left.
I get nervous when it's easy.
I don't know if that's from the movie. I've never heard that in the movie, but... There we go. We got our Jedi colors.
Hang on, I got too much light.
You got too much light in there?
There you go.
Oh, wow. There we go. All right, thanks for joining us on this special edition of Saber Talk. We hope you had a great time, and we will do this again in a couple days. I'm going to get these guys together again. We'll do another Saber Talk, probably like a live help style. And you guys are always welcome to ask questions, even if it doesn't say live help, If we're on here live, you could ask questions and stuff like that. But anyway, so we will get out of here. Harris, thanks for doing this again. And
Everybody stay safe.
Everybody stay safe is right. We will get back to building together as soon as we can.
Can't wait. Miss you, buddy.
Yeah, I miss you too.
Dinner time.